right up there? They don't think right up there. I mean, it's going to be hard for me to get on the plane tomorrow and fly back. The other side is really motivated to stop what we are trying to get done. They are really fired up in opposition to all the things that we have waited decades to get in a position to do. This is our moment. If we can't be fired up to get out and support the party, if we can't be fired up to get involved, if we can't be fired up to support policy, when our side is winning and the other side is trying to stop us, when are we going to do it? If we're really people of principle, if we're really a party of principle, the proof is, what do you do to sacrifice to make sure that the gains that we have worked so hard to get don't get taken from us? I was an hour and 10 minutes late arriving here yesterday, but I wasn't upset as to the reason. An honor plane was coming from Austin to D.C., and they were delayed about 30 minutes in boarding because of all the wheelchairs. And they were delayed another 30 minutes getting off, which is the hour. And there were dozens, literally. It was like a whole plane. World War II veterans who are all in their 90s. Korea War veterans. Vietnam War veterans who now, shows me how old I am, they're in their 60s, 70s as well. And that terminal erupted spontaneously in applause. And lines formed in that terminal yesterday spontaneously, like you would greet football players running out to the field as far as the eye could see. And this went on for a half an hour. The lady next to me started crying because it brought home immediately what these men represented, but more importantly, what they were willing to sacrifice for the things that we've been working for. A lot of their buddies didn't come home. They saw unspeakable tragedy. And when you saw that all those people in the terminal were united for 1 second as Americans for the things they would believe, but more importantly to recognize the sacrifice that people have given so we could be there, isn't it such a small sacrifice in comparison just to work hard for the party? So I urge you to do that. Thank you for your support of the party, and I will tell you, you guys are the luckiest folks in the world living in Texas.
There you go. Yeah, I've said this before. My very first phone call when I heard that there was going to be an opening in this job was to Steve, and his advice and counsel and experience and kind words and support have been so amazing and so encouraging. And I am so grateful for all he has done and continues to do for the party. Okay, now let's do the auxiliary report. Chairman? Oh, there we go. The Texas Federation of College Republicans have a major event coming up next week, and I'd like to ask Emma McElroy to update us on that and share the activities of the College Republicans.
So my name is Emma McElroy, and I'm here to represent the Texas Federation of College Republicans. I've had the privilege of serving as the Republican Party of Texas liaison for the past year, and I'm so excited to speak about our spring convention, which is next week, April 6th and 7th at the Texas State Capitol. We are going to be hearing from many different speakers, including Alan West, Chairman James Dickey, and Commissioner Christy Craddock. We have raised over $2,000 for our convention, which we are incredibly proud of, and we're expecting to bring in one more $1,000 before the end of next week for our convention. So we would love to invite any and all of you to come by and meet your college Republicans. We have over 38 chapters across the entire state, and we're expecting over 250 students to be in attendance. And I wanted to share about a couple of other things that we've been doing, our federation has been doing over this past year, and two in particular we're incredibly excited about. The first is at our last state board meeting with all of our chapter chairs, we passed a pro-Israel resolution, and we've been partnering with different on-campus organizations to support the state of Israel and educate college students about what is happening in the Middle East and why we support that state. The second project we've been working on is having voter registration competition drives. So we've been encouraging chapters across the entire state to hold voter registration drives on campus to make it easy for college Republicans and other on-campus students to vote for the upcoming runoff election on May 22nd. So I just want to take a moment to thank the entire RNC and RPT staff. They've been absolutely incredible at working with the Federation. We've been partnering with different RLI directors across the entire state, and we really appreciate everything you've done to provide resources for Federation. And I'd love to encourage all of you to reach out to your local colleges in your SD district and connect with the different students. We're incredibly passionate. Just in this last month, TCU hosted a Back the Blue event to support all of their local officers and just honor and recognize what they do. And this next week, Texas State is having a Freedom Week event to support free speech on campus. So we're incredibly active and we're incredibly passionate, and we would love to connect with you and just help inside your Senate district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chairman, anything else to report?
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can y'all hear me? I should start with a natural joke, right? And thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members allowing me to serve as your chairman of auxiliaries and coalitions. And let me tell you that over the past 6 months, a great many strides have been made in terms of the success, more importantly, the wonderful outreach that our auxiliaries and our coalitions have done and continue to do today, especially with their contributions in growing our party at unprecedented levels that we've never seen before, and we've seen that in our record-setting primary attendance. So that's wonderful. I've got a couple of items for you real fast, and I know in the interest of time, because we got some business to take care of, but I have some exciting news for you. First things first, one of our coalitions, the Republican Liberty Caucus, thanks to the wonderful, would Pastor Holcomb please rise? Terry, stand up. My friends, thanks to the wonderful efforts of our colleague, one of our coalitions, our newest coalitions I might add, the Republican Liberty Caucus, has adopted the Republican Party platform word by word for pro-life. How about that? How about that, huh? And it's thanks to your efforts. Thank you, Terry, so much for being, for spearheading that, working with Mr. LeBlanc. And if you got a few words, you want to take the back microphone to walk the body through a little bit, yes, please, so you can come forward.
Yes, Mr. Hope. The switch.
Chairman Terry Holcomb, SD3. Thank you, Chairman JT. I do want to strongly congratulate Jeff LeBlanc, who is the head of the RLC Texas here, and just express how appreciative I am of his hard work and working with me and bringing the pro-life principle, the Republican Party of Texas principle, to the Republican Liberty Caucus. I want to express to this body how grateful I am for the opportunity to been able to build this coalition and influence things in such a positive manner. This is a perfect picture of what we can do when we set our minds to get the work done. So thank you, Jeff. He's here. I'd like to thank the RLC Texas and thank y'all for letting me have the opportunity to bring our platform to an external organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And TXYR, Mr. Bond, come forward, please. We have a little presentation. Come on, you're young, hurry up. I'm old.
So, 2 years ago, I've said multiple times that the first person Young Republicans ever endorsed was Amy Clark. And I can say that that is probably the best endorsement we will ever make. I don't think there's any topping it. And Amy, if you could come here real quick. I know you're going to cry. It's okay. So, Amy, I've said that for 4 years under 3 chairmen, you have been the heart of this party. And to protect our heart, we got you a gift. 2 gifts, actually. The first one I forgot at home. But I got you. We got you a concealed carry belt, so you're able to always be prepared. And just as we want you to be prepared for battle, we also want you to be prepared for peace. Do you know the White Rose Brigade? Do you know what that is? You're a history lover, so I know you'll enjoy this. In World War II, there was a group of peace activists in Germany, German students. Hans and Sophie Scholl, you may know the names, that were, them and several others passed out literature on campuses calling for peace and exposing what the Nazi regime was doing. And unfortunately, of course, that was considered treasonous, and they were sent to their deaths. But I want to read you a quote because I think you embody the spirit of what Sophie was getting at. The real damage is done by those millions who want to survive, the honest men who just want to be left in peace, those who don't want their little lives disturbed by anything bigger than themselves, those with no sides and no causes, those who won't take measure to their own strength for fear of antagonizing their own weaknesses, those who don't like to make waves or enemies, those whom for freedom, honor, truth, principles are only literature, those who live small, who live small, mate small, die small. It's reductionist approach to life. If you keep it small, you'll keep it under control. If you don't make any noise, the boogeyman won't find you, but it's all an illusion because they die too. Those who roll up with the spirits, those tiny little balls, will be safe. Safe from what? Life is always on the edge of death. Narrow streets lead to the same place as wide avenues. And a little candle burns itself out like a flaming torch does. I choose my own way to burn. Amy, you have chosen your own way to burn, and I am so thankful. So we got you one other gift. And this was actually created by Candy Noble's sister, lasertexan.com. They do wonderful work. But I got you a white rose, and on it says, I will cling to the rope God has thrown me in Jesus Christ, even when my numb hands can't feel it. Thank you for all you've done.
And Mr. Chairman and Vice Chairman, that concludes my report. Thank you, body. Thank you, members.
Excellent. Now we have this being the last SREC meeting before convention. It is tradition that we get a group photo. So if all of the members would please congregate in front of that screen, we will go ahead and do the group photo. Hutch is the one taking the photo, so do whatever he tells you.
That's true.
Yeah, we can stand on the front. That's right.
Brandon's gonna get the stand.
And then at the front row, everyone that's 5'3" and below. And then we'll make adjustments accordingly.
Are the 5'3"s? I'm a 5'3".
Flags are coming through. Okay.
This is never. It's not even in the feast. They're never. All right.
Real quickly, if you can't directly see me, I will not be able to directly see you. If you can, do the best job of angling. So in other words, like, this is a perfect example of there's two people right here and a head right there. So try to just get, like, the second row, try to line up right in between the front rows, everyone's head, and then we'll be able to go from there. Everyone yell Republican.
Where do you think you're going, Pastor Broden? Get back in there. That serious teamwork and coordination warmed my heart. Okay, the next. Please find your seat. Please find your seats. Next report up is the Candidate Resource Committee. Steve Atwell, the floor is yours to present the Candidate Resource Committee report. Excellent. Chairman's asked for his slide if possible. Thank you.
First of all, let me get Candy and Tad and Debbie, carry up. Come up here. Where's Candy Noble? Okay. Where's Tad? Tony Ann. Okay. 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 Someone, if you could get her. Many of y'all know that on the Candidate Resource Committee, we have a thing called the Capital Club. And because you're a Capital Club member, we have an award now for the last cycle. This is the bronze level streamer. These are battle streamers. They are not garments like Jane Nelson tried to wear, but they're handmade. The artwork was done. The artwork was done by where's Sue? Sue Evenwell. Wait, Sue did this for free for us, and it's great. It really is. And my wife did the sewing for this, and I'm still paying for that. These are handmade and they're unique. And these are the bronze level. We go all the way up to platinum, so you guys you have a whole color collection now, and everything. So I'd like to award you your take two of those. Very good. Thank you guys for support this. This is the lower ballot thing. It is important. Real quick on a financial report, we have $55,697 in the account right now. We're starting our big run for the fall, and we have probably over $30,000 worth of pledges that we have not collected as yet. So we're on track to set some records again. Our convention is our big event. We've got a convention plan in place, I think, Dion. And so she's grimacing at me. But right now we're gonna, I'm gonna ask how many of you guys did a CRC presentation at your center or county conventions? If you guys could raise your hands. Thank you guys, I very much appreciate that. Make sure those checks go to Jennifer, that's real important because it lifts our profile. It also tells elected officials where they can get these badly needed funds, and it provides us money. We've got, I passed around the key pin deal that we got some new keep-ins coming up. We got Chris, you've gotten yours. Chris McDonald's gotten his. And Melanie, did you get yours last time? I wasn't here last time, so I don't know who got. Okay. I was just asking if Melanie got her keep-in. I was not here last week. I had a proxy, so I don't know who got the keep-ins. Virgil and Gail have gotten a keep-in from. They did outstanding at their Senate convention. They raised several $1,000s, and we very much appreciate that. Edie, I think is you have not gotten yours as well, I believe. So you're due a keep-in, and we'll have a picture afterwards to do that. Let's see. The January meeting, I think it looks like Marion. I don't know if Marion got hers last time or not. Where is Marion? Did you get your keep-in? Okay, you're going to get it now. And you and Fred. And then who else? Dion got a according here. Have you gotten a pin? For a keep-in. Can you not hear me? Oh, and Vicky, escort. Vicky and what? Oh, Vicky and Jason. Also, I want Vicky and Jane Cancino and Candy to stand up, please. These three guys have done them something amazing. They have earned their keep-in every time, every year they have been on the SREC. 8. They're 8 for 8. And that is unprecedented. And thank you for your commitment to the lower ballot. And Will is staring daggers at me. He earns a keep-in as well. So, all right. Let's see. Where was I? Okay. We've got. We've made some major changes, and we're making some changes in what we are doing for the application. I know that's the biggest complaint about the CRC. One, that we don't have unlimited funds. Number two, it takes them so long to fill out that very long and process to file an application, and we lose a lot of applicants because they say we don't want to do that for $500 or whatever it is. So I'm going to turn it over to Virgil. Also, before Virgil gets up here, the streamers here, we need these things delivered to the different Capital Club members. I'm going to pass a list out for you. If you will sign your name, if you know these people, like there's clubs, there's elected officials. If you just make sure you take a picture of it. If you take one of these from me and you lose it, you're going to answer it to my wife and Sue Evenwell. And but we need to get these things delivered, because if they get something, they'll probably give something back again. So, with Virgil, I'm going to turn it over to him real quick. Run, Virgil, run. I want to thank Virgil and his team that worked on this, because they did an amazing amount of work in a very short period of time. We've been thinking and talking about it a long time. It's almost finished.
And Steve, the key word here is almost, but we wanted to give you guys a little taste of the new application that we've got going for the CRC. So if we could open up the first document. I'm not going to spend a lot of time right now. It's not my place to go through the one that says access. Go with blue first. Oh, it's the links. And open up the first link. So while we're getting that up, what our intent here is to make the application easier, as Steve said, and we're going to have sort of a gateway form for people, and we want to make sure that only candidates are getting these forms. So the first one is going to be a gateway. You can just scroll down and give people a quick taste of this. So we're asking them to fill out some information. When we verify that they are indeed the candidate, we're going to give them access to the actual form. That's the red document. The second one. And for those of you who have not been through this process before, one thing that's really important is that everyone who applies has to have a referral from either an SREC member or a county chair. And we can get more than one, but one is required. And this is, we're going to ask them to do that. The one we're looking at right now is the first page of 8. I won't show all 8 of these, but you notice the stop sign. We want to make sure that our candidates follow what the rules require of them, and that is to read the platform. So notice the no is not yet, but I will. So we're going to invite you. We're probably going to have one more phone meeting before we approve this entirely. We want to thank everyone for their input in this process. Our bottom line is we want to make it easy for our candidates so we can get the money and not make them spend a lot of time filling out forms so that they can spend time campaigning and winning. Thank you very much. Yes. No, that we will maintain your confidentiality. We value that information from our county chairs and SREC. So the information that the committee receives both from the candidate and from the referrer, we will keep in strict confidentiality as we have in past cycles. No, it's going to be their responsibility to make sure that you fill it out. And of course, committee will follow up on those who they say that they're going to ask to refer them.
All right, this is our last streamer to give today. And Tony, and this is your streamer, and do not wear it as a garment, like I said. But this is the battle. This is a battle. It goes on your battle flag that you have at home. And this is just real quick. How many of y'all were in Boy Scouts or in the military? You know, he's a streamer. But you know, Jane Nelson did this. I'll hold it up. Did this like it was a queen thing. You know, that's all but yeah, let's say this is a battle streamer. This is because we're at war, and so thank you so much for your help. This appreciate it. Very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, let's see. Couple of quick things. One, if this is your last SREC meeting, either because you are term limited out or for other reason not running again, would y'all stand up so we can recognize you and thank you for your service? Mr. Chairman?
Just got in trouble. Oh, we have an auction. And JT, will you come up here real quick? Someone grab those, we'll go the brownies, then the boots, and that. Sue, you can come up and do this. But JT is fixed to hold you up by your ankles and shake all the money out of your pockets. So get ready. Here it is.
And good afternoon once again, members, friends. And so first of all, let's talk about a little bit what we got auctioned off on behalf of our CRC today. This is a wonderful painting. Where is it at? Go get it. Go get it. Okay, are we doing brownies first? And so, ladies and gentlemen, my distinguished friends, these brownies are not just ordinary brownies, as Madam Vice Chairman just reminded me. These are very special brownies made with a. These are brownies. I stand corrected. I sincerely apologize. These are brownies that are very special and made with a lot of love. And these are platform-approved brownies. And they are just mighty fine, fine, fine brownies. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start the bidding off at what we doing for the floor? What's the floor for these wonderful brownies? I'll start the minimum bid off at $50. I got $50, $50. Tammy over here, what? Okay, we got $50. You going 55, Jason? 100. Okay, 100 says the gentleman for these wonderful brownies that are special. I have 100. I have 100. I have 150 from the Committeeman Armstrong. 150. I hit 200. I hit 200. I have 200 from Tammy Nielsen over here. 200. I hit 225. Wait a minute. I hit 225 from Mr. Bond in the back. 225. We're gonna do 250. How about 250? Do I hear 250? Okay. We have the Chairman Dickey. He says 250. 250 for these brownies that are very special, lovely, delicious. Do I hear 275? And these are the last brownies you're going to ever get from our Madam Vice Chairman. Do I hear 275, 275? Ms. Nielsen, SD6, 275. Do I have 300? 300? 300 for these. Did I hear the chairman for 300? I have 300 from the chairman of the Republican Party of Texas for these brownies. Very special for the Candidate Resource Committee. Do I have 350? Do I have 350, 350? Tammy Nielsen's over here, 350. Do I have 350? Do I have 375, 350, 375? 400. $400 for these brownies that are very special with love from Chairman. Do I hear 450? I hear 450 once. Wait a minute. I hear 450 once. I hear 450 twice. We have 450 from SD6. Ms. Nielsen, 450. 450. We got 500 from the chairman of the Republican Party. Where at 500? 500. Do I have 550? 550? Do I hear 550? Come on, give me 550 right now. 550. Do I see 550? Do I see 550 over there? No 550. 550 at all? Wait a minute. What I'm hearing? 550 once. 550 twice. Sold for the chairman of the Republican Party of Texas for these brownies that are very special and limited. $550. Congratulations, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. Isn't that wonderful? We can actually just raise money on the floor for the wonderful Candidate Resource Committee. My life. And so next up, do we have? Okay, we're going to do Wilson. Okay, all right. So this one. Okay, hang on a second. We're going to get the Honorable Sue Evenwell to explain the next item. Go ahead.
You all have a yellow sheet in front of you talking about my friend Jan Williamson. She's a Texas artist, originally from Midland. She now resides in East Texas in a little town called Jefferson. But she has painted both of the signed and numbered prints that I brought with me today for you to bid on. The one that you're seeing right now is called Them Damn Boots. And the original is in Phil Graham's home. So she gave it to Phil Graham on a special occasion, and we'd like to start the bidding off with that one.
All right, I have been duly informed that this wonderful, precise painting comes with a certificate of authenticity. It's part of a very limited collection, but I can tell you what, she's going to walk around right now and look at the wonderful towns of Texas, and I'm going to start the minimum bid at $250. Do I have $250? Am I hearing $250? $250. We have $250 for Mr. Bond. You want to go $275? $275. My wonderful and beautiful committee woman, Tanya Robinson, $275. $275. Got $300 from Mr. Bond. Mr. Bond, $300. Do I have $350? $350. Do I have $350? Do I see $350? Okay, well, I got $350 from my good friend, Ms. Tammy. I got $350. I have $375. I'm looking for $375. $375 is going in the Candidate Resource Committee, folks. Going down ballot, $375, $375, going over to Mr. Ramsey, SD7. $375. Do I hear $425? $425 going to the CRC. $425. Do I hear $400? Do I hear $400? Do I see $400? Signed and numbered. Limited edition. We're going $375 once. We're going $375 twice. Sold to Mr. Ramsey over at SD7. Congratulations, sir. What a mighty fine addition to your wonderful living room on your den. Okay, my dear colleagues and great friends, it is an honor tradition today, a wonderful portrait of one of the greatest presidents in the United States of America. An icon to our great party. The reason why we're all sitting here today, celebrating family, faith, and freedom. This wonderful document, this wonderful painting is going to, Sue Evenwell is going to tell you about it. Hang on.
This is number 60 out of 1,000 prints. And the kind of fun story behind this, when I pass this around or walk this around to look at it, you'll see a ghosting kind of thing of our American flag. And it's interesting because when she was painting this, her 3-year-old son came up and used green marker all the way around Reagan's head. And so to cover that up, she had to do something, and she put the American flag in there. So I want you to look real closely. Jan presented this to Ronald Reagan at the White House, and it is now residing in as a permanent part of the collection in the Reagan Library. So it's a real special painting, and the authenticity comes with it, along with a picture of Jan presenting it to Ronald Reagan.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, honoring our great party and our great president, we're going to start the bidding off. $1,000. Do I hear $1,000? I have Tony and the Shield for $1,000. 1,000, can you give me 1,500? 1,500, we're hearing 1,500. We have 1,000 over here, but this is our great president of the United States, the Honorable Ronald Reagan. Painted with love, with a little bit of children love in it. I'm looking for $1,500. I don't have any take. What about 1,000? Let me work with you on this. $1,250. I've got $1,000 once. I have $1,000 twice, and sold to the Honorable Tony Ann DeShields for $1,000. Thank you for your contributions to the Candidate Resource Committee, and thank you to all of our wonderful winners. Do I have anything else I'm supposed to auction, Sue? And that be so, ladies and gentlemen, I now return you back to your regularly scheduled SREC meeting, courtesy of the Honorable James Dickey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and Madam Vice Chair. Thank you for the brownies. The voting devices. You all were issued voting devices. You've had them. You've got nice lanyards with them. Don't forget, the rules are very specific. If you leave the room, they must be left with the Sergeant at Arms. So when you leave the room, please don't do so until you've given your clicker to the Sergeant at Arms. Please. Okay, now to Resolutions Committee. Candy Noble, we're ready to hear from resolutions. Oh, sorry. Well, my apologies. I missed the heading. Yes, sorry. Party organization. Will Robbins, we are ready for party organization.
We'll blame JT. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members. I'll keep our report today brief. So I know a lot of you had your last committee meetings yesterday, but the Party Organization Committee never rests. We still have 2 conference call meetings left, so we're not quite wrapped up. What we are trying to finish up these next 2 meetings, is this better? Is we are trying to finish up our primer on how to start a Republican club, not a CEC, but just a generic, Beaumont Republican Club kind of organization, a set of sample bylaws, ideas like that, because the state office had started getting calls from different parts of the state with individuals interested in starting some kind of club, and there are no resources available on how to do that. So we're trying to come up with a nice primer, nothing like a handbook or anything like that, but just kind of a guide, a small, short guide on that. We're trying to finish up the election integrity manual. That used to be our ballot integrity manual, and it was last redone right before the 2016 election, but now with the new election integrity committee, we're expanding that handbook, that manual, and trying to get it wrapped up before the convention so that when the new SREC comes into place and that new election integrity committee really hits the ground running, they have the tools and resources they need to make sure we have safe and secure and sound elections here in Texas in November of this year. And then we are creating a memo with notes and tips and some ideas for the next party organization committee. That will conclude the party organization report, and I cede our time back.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And now, Candy Noble, we're ready to hear from resolutions.
Virgil, come on up. We're going to start today with some information for you guys on the ballot initiatives that were on our ballot in the March primary. Virgil's done an amazing job on the data and running the numbers. And if you weren't in our resolutions committee meeting yesterday, you're going to want to take some notes. So get ready for some good information. You may want to get your phone ready to take some pictures of some of his slides, because this is some really good information going forward. Okay, are you ready? Whoever's running the computers, if y'all could get to that PowerPoint for us.
Thank you, Candy. This was a 15-minute presentation yesterday. I'm going to try to do it in 5. So we'll make it available to you. I'm not going to get into the weeds today, but just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an overview of our resolutions. So let's go to slide number 2. So that's a summary. The numbers may be off a little bit because this was pre-Canvas, but you notice that everything passed overwhelmingly, some more than others, and we'll go to the next slide. So where does our vote come from? We wanted to look at that. So the red bar at the top, the wedge there is Harris County, followed by the yellow Tarrant, green Dallas, blue Bear, Collin, Denton, Montgomery, Travis, Williamson, Fort Bend, Brazoria, Galveston, Smith, and Lubbock. So those 14 counties you can see comprise half of the vote in the state. The green wedge is counties 15 through 44, and then the blue wedge on the left at 16% is another 50 counties, and the remaining 150 counties are the 11% shown in purple. So we are an urban primary vote mainly, but with large contributions from suburban counties as well, and rural. So we wanted to look for patterns. Next slide. And Waldo was there to assist with that. What I did was I pulled out a subset of 12 counties I wanted to see if urban and rural vote perhaps would look different or certain parts of the state. There were actually not huge differences among different parts of the state, but we did reveal a few things. If we'll go to the next slide. That's really hard to see, I know, and that's why we'll make it available. Those are the 12 counties that I sampled, plus on the very far left, that is the statewide vote. So every line is a different proposition, and the blip in the fourth column, y'all can take a guess what county that is. So Travis County does vote a little different from some of the other counties, but even in Travis County, we love you, Travis County. Everything did pass with a majority. So go to the next slide. In terms of where were votes a lot different between counties, and the ones with the higher red bars, you can see the abortion, privacy, education were probably the ones with the most variety among counties. The ones on the right seem to be more, there was more uniformity in how counties voted. The yellow line is the yes vote on those propositions. And we'll go to the next slide. This is very in the weeds, so I will not address this slide. But we actually found in the last column that county, when I took just 12 counties versus every single county in the state, those averages didn't differ by more than 1%. So that told us that there was not as much variety among counties as you might expect. And we'll skip through the next couple slides. That's very much in the weeds. With one exception, I'll mention that if you multiply 11 propositions times 251 counties that we had primary data for in the first round, there were only 3 results in the entire state out of those that were not a majority. That's amazing when you think about it. And we'll go to the graph of the education options. One more back. There actually was a slight correlation, although the statistical connection was very weak, that larger counties supported the education options proposition at slightly higher rates. So that was notable for some of us. The next slide shows that the opposite pattern was true on both the privacy and safety proposition with, for you statistics people, the R squared on this was 0.20, which was somewhat significant. It's a little higher than the others. And then the very last one there that I pulled out was the abortion question. And that had a lower R squared, but there was a slight trend that there was more pro-life support in the rural counties. So those were some of the things we found. If you've got questions about the analysis, feel free to let me know, and I think we can make this available to people. And last slide just lists our committee. So on behalf of them, I thank you.
Virgil's amazing. So is the entire committee. And I again want to thank the Resolutions Committee. Y'all stand real quick. Come on, Resolutions Committee. Yeah. Awesome job. In your packet today, you had 4 resolutions. They're stapled together. They are 2 pages that are stapled together. So I would like for you to look at those now. The first one is the resolution on the right to bear and keep and bear arms. The SREC sponsor was Jeremy Blosser. We talked a good bit about whether it was appropriate to weigh in on issues at this late date when the convention process was already in process, but we felt like the 2 that we're bringing you today are timely and important enough that that we wanted to let you have the option of voting for them. Everybody's on that one? All right, on behalf of the Resolutions Committee, I move that we adopt this resolution.
Okay, a motion from a committee does not require a second. We have the motion to adopt this resolution. The resolution is on the screen. It's also in your packet. It's also in the Google Drive, which, by the way, the presentation that was done a moment ago, that is also in the Google Drive. So if you don't already have access to the Google Drive, be sure to talk to staff. We can make sure and get set up with that. You should. Okay. We have the motion from the committee. Is there any discussion? Yes.
Hello, the Jeremy Blosser SD10. As we get to the bottom, this is more like an intent question. The last resolved. The last resolve says, be it resolved, the Republican Party of Texas, on behalf of the grassroots, craft a press release, et cetera, because that's kind of the goal here. Just want to make sure if this is adopted with that language, that the understanding is Republican Party of Texas in that context will mean the chairman and staff will make that happen. It's not like a thing we're waiting for another SREC to do. Correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay. Seeing none. All in favor of the resolution, say aye. Aye. Oh, wait. Oh, resolutions have to be by record vote. Well, okay. So we can try this. You object. Okay. Then therefore it is a record vote. Okay. So we're going to record vote. Clickers is our first record vote today. A reminder, you aim the clicker at the computer right there. That's where the vote's going to get recorded. So aim the clicker at that computer.
Ring the bell.
What? Yes. That'll be the sound to let you know that voting is open. When voting is, in fact, it is open. It's open. So make sure you've got a couple more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Take a look at your vote. Let us know if there appear to be issues. Okay. Hearing none. The result is 55 aye, 0 no. Motion passes.
Now, if you will flip that over, we're going to go to the last one in the packet. We're going to deal with the resolution supporting the Electoral College. As you heard from Tony Ann DeShield's report this morning, this is something that is that we felt like we wanted to make a statement on as a body. And so Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Resolutions Committee, I move adoption of the resolution supporting the Electoral College.
Okay, there's a motion coming from a committee. It does not need a second. Any discussion on the motion? Ma'am.
Sue Evenwell, SD1. I have a real close relationship with fair representation as a result of Evenwell versus Abbott, which is coming up again. But I'd like to make, to strike in the third whereas the word tyranny and replace it with predominance. So it would read, without the predominance of one region.
Okay, the motion is to amend the resolution and replace the word tyranny in the third whereas with predominance. Second. The motion is made by Ms. Evenwell. It has been seconded. Any discussion on the motion to amend? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to amend, say aye. Aye. Any opposed to the motion to amend, say nay. The motion is now amended. Okay. Any discussion on the motion as amended? Okay, seeing none, we're going to open voting. Voting will be open for a 30-second period. You'll hear the bell ringing while it's open. If you will, open the voting. Remember to aim your clicker at the computer. Okay, voting has ended. The count is 59 yes and 0 no. Motion passes. Excellent.
Part of the SREC bylaws ask that the Resolutions Committee send a report of recommended changes to the platform. So the resolution that you see on the back of that front page, it's called Resolution to Recommend Temporary Convention Committees. That one is more informational because it's not one that has to pass the body. But we did want y'all to know that we are forwarding the resolutions that passed in their entirety by our body to those committees. Now, since the legislative, it's called legislative, what is it called? Legislative, what is the new committee called? Since the legislative affairs is legislative priorities, okay, good. Since that committee is not mentioned in our bylaws as in the resolutions committee, we would like to as well forward those resolutions to that committee as well. And so both of those are in this resolution for recommendation to temporary convention committees. We will simply send them all of the resolutions that we've passed as a full SREC body during the last 2 years. So do you want a motion on that or do you not? Because it really doesn't say in the bylaws. So the chairman says we don't need a motion. That was just informational. That was an informational one.
Mr. Chairman.
That is what we intend to do.
Mr. Chairman, JTA was SD11. Just a point of inquiry. I just had a couple of questions for the chairman. So how many resolutions are being passed on to the temporary resolutions committee?
Before today, we had passed 14.
Okay, so 14 are going over to the state resolutions. Temporary.
Well, including the 2 today, then it will now be 16.
2 today?
We actually passed an additional one that was a memorial one, but that one won't be.
Okay, cool. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to know what the number was.
All right, we have one more resolution today, and that one is, this one, we enjoyed, I'm sorry, there's somebody else in the microphone.
Mr. Chairman, Jason Ross, SD2, point of inquiry.
Yes.
The 2 resolutions, the votes that we just took, the first one appeared to be 55-0 with 0 abstention, and then the second one was 59-0 with
Right.
0 and 0. How was that?
Yeah, there is actually an abstain button, which is different from not having voted.
But that still showed 0 and 0.
Right. No one pushed button 3. Right.
So
there
someone,
was one.
4 people just didn't vote, period.
Right. Yeah, they didn't vote.
So, yeah, she was.
Okay. Okay. Well, and that's when I referred to if you have any issues, let us know. That's if you have any issues, let us know. But that's why the clicker's got to be pointed at that computer. That computer. No, that's all right.
Okay, this is the first time I've ever said this in a resolution, and I'm going to really enjoy doing it. Today we would like for the SREC to pass a resolution agreeing with some Democrats in calling for the resignation of Democrat Carlos Uresti. And so that is our final resolution for today. I don't know where it went. I guess but it is in your packet. For those that aren't aware of the news, we have a Democratic state senator who has been convicted of 11 felony counts. And he has not resigned, and nor is he required to resign until he completes an appeal process to be forever. So, well, as long as he can drag it out. So the Texas Senate Democratic Caucus has asked him to resign, and we're going to join with them in asking for his resignation. And so therefore, Mr. Chairman, I move the adoption of resolution calling on Democrat Carlos Uresti to resign.
Okay, being a motion from committee, no second is required. We have the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion. Yeah. We could, without objection, have it be unanimous. Is there any objection? Yeah, okay. Without objection, the motion passes unanimously. I seeing no objection. Thank you all. Thank you very much, Chairman Noble.
Boy, everybody was unified on that one.
Yeah, exactly. As we should be completely unified in criticizing the Democrats. Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
And next up is the Rules Committee. Melinda, do you have? Oh, I'm sorry.
May I
Ms.
ask
Duncan.
a question real quick? I
Yes.
have a constituent.
Jan?
Jan Duncan, SD14. I have a constituent who would like to make a donation to the CRC for $100 if he's allowed to have one of your brownies.
Oh, man. Where's the brownies? Where are the brownies?
Over
Staff,
there.
where are the brownies? There we go. We got a brownie that's worth $100. There we go, right there. All right,
There we
TJ. Woo! Yes. By all means. All right. That Amy's brownies are the gift that just keeps giving. That's wonderful. Chairman Fredericks.
Good afternoon, everybody. So, this is my last Rules Committee report. And I would like, first of all, to thank Rachel. If you'd stand up, Rachel. She's been amazing. She helps me so much, getting stuff printed, middle of the night, whatever, and thank you so much. And if the committee, the Rules Committee would stand, please. Just want to recognize you guys and all your work. Thank you. You have in your packet two, well, it's one page, but there's 2 items that I want to draw your attention to that we're going to ask for your vote on, or the chairman's going to ask for your vote on. As you can see, the first one is SREC standing rule regarding the use of our PT staff and resources for campaigns. If you want to take a look at that, I don't know that I need to read it out loud to you. If you want, I'll give you a minute or so to, is that all right, Mr. Chairman? To look at that.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, by direction of the committee, I move adoption of this standing rule.
Okay, the motion for adoption of the SREC standing rule regarding the use of RPT staff and resources for campaigns, being a committee recommendation, does not require a second. Any discussion? Mr. McCloskey.
Mr. Chairman, Mike McCloskey, Senate District 5. I wish to speak in favor of this motion. I brought to this committee last year the concern about our local elections. There is an election 4 weeks from today on May 5th. And a lot of times we forget that. We talk about the other elections. And there's no premise that there's any more nonpartisan. It's not nonpartisan. The other party is working in our cities. They are taking over our cities. I can tell you, we lost 2 seats in Cedar Park and a seat in Round Rock last year, and then a seat in a special election in December in Round Rock. The cities of Cedar Park, Leander, and Round Rock are about to be taken over by the other parties. They are building their bench, and they will move up to our counties and to our state. And we need to address that and recognize that as a real threat for our party. We need to have this leverage to be able to do this. We need to give the authority to the state party to do this, because this is very important. The other party is spending money, the state party, not county parties, the state party is spending money on block walking and phone banking and mailers and all these sorts of things. And we need to be able to have the ability to do the same thing and be active as a party and defend our seats and win seats. So I urge your support of this.
Thank you. Mr. Bloss.
Jeremy Blosser, ST10, in support. Had to take the moment to note that I completely agree with Mr. McCloskey on this one. I drafted this rule.
We just got unity all over the place.
Everybody gets unity. I drafted this in support of Mr. McCloskey's resolution, which I voted for and would vote for again. I did want to note, some people I know had questions about why it mentions primaries at all. And so it very clearly says non-contested primaries, a contested primary. We're not getting involved in that. Would be in violation of SREC bylaws. The scenarios that matter here are ones like we heard about Connie Burton's race earlier, how important ST10, my district, is for us to keep it red. Senator Burton didn't pull an opponent in the primary. A rule like this would make it explicitly clear, without even needing to change our bylaws, that if we wanted to help her name ID, just through sharing her social media posts, for example, that there's no foul in doing so during the primary. Once the filing period ends and she's clearly uncontested, there are other scenarios where you could have a Democrat incumbent who gets run out of office finally, and we think it's competitive and only have one candidate in our primary, but we're still in the primary if the party wanted to get involved. But all of that is bound to resolution of the SREC. We have that resolution right now because Mr. McCloskey brought it, but if a future SREC wanted to do this, they would keep doing that as a good thing, hopefully. But that's just some clarification because I heard those questions. So please vote yes. Thank you.
Point of information?
Yes, sir.
I was just wondering, so what exactly the resources that you're talking about, which absolutely young Republicans have support this. What resources would go, because we're only 4 weeks out from those elections, and how would they be determined, that sort of thing, if this rule passes? What kind of is the actual things behind this?
Go ahead. I'll clarify that if you want, since I wrote it.
Please.
I mentioned things, it depends on time, and we are pretty close at this point. Funding is generally a CRC concern. The resolution spelled that out in a little more detail. It's potentially sharing block walking lists. It's social media posts. It's just our expertise. We have very good consultants, et cetera, on staff who, if the chairman and staff decided it was appropriate for a given race, they could look into those races and give them advice. It's meant to encompass the things that go beyond money, to just expertise and helping things out online, et cetera. That kind of ground level stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, JT was ST11. I also speak in support of this. I can tell you just from the front lines in my Senate district, along as Committeewoman Robinson will be the first to tell you, we are under siege as a party. They can't beat us statewide. That's why we run the state. They can't seem to beat us at the county level. Where they are attacking us at is at the school boards. They are attacking us at the city councils. They're even attacking us at the mud boards. That's where the Democrats are striking. And so, while we've been playing nice and fair, and Tanya, we've seen this, have we not? We see this. It's happening in our district. It's real. I've got Democrats and the Justice Democrats coming from the west into Pearland. I've got Indivisible, several chapters in my SD, and one in my hometown with its headquarters at the favorite restaurant I used to enjoy. In the east, I've got Band in Clear Lake. This is real. And so I thank the authors, Mr. McCloskey, Mr. Blosser. By the way, it's nice to see when we can agree on something, ain't it? So I thank you so much, and I urge you all to emphatically support this resolution, this rule change. Thank you.
Leslie Thomas, SD 23 proxy. I'm a city council member in a town in Dallas County, and when I run, when like-minded people like me run, we run against our state senator, and we run against our county commissioner, and we run against the machine. And you know, we still get elected and we're out there running, but wow, and our state senator shows up with his big stogie at the polls, and he's there, and you have to pass him before you can vote. And so, you know, it's fun, but this would help us because we don't have that help because we follow the rules.
Steve Atwell, SD9. Just like some more information. We've got pretty established rules about how to vet candidates. Individual candidates pretty much have to be vetted according to Rule 43A. Also, we have plank number 95 in our platform about the life position. How is this all supposed to work? Because we've had some situations where in the past where we did not vet some candidates and it blew up in our face. And can y'all explain to them about where this is going to work?
Mr. Blosser, did you have a?
I'll speak to my intent, and the chairman can correct me if I'm wrong since he's the chairman. So the first sentence is about what we already do. When they win the primary, there are nominees in the general. We already help them. There's no changes there. That's what's going on now. The vetting there is the primary. The second part is all tied to resolution of the SREC. So the answer to the question of which campaigns we might help falls to this body. This body took up that issue for this cycle a few months ago with Mr. McCloskey's resolution, and I believe we discussed all of that then and went ahead and adopted the language we adopted. I frankly don't remember what it was all in there, but I remember it passed pretty overwhelmingly, so I believe we as a body thought it was covered. Nobody's bringing that question up again. In a future SREC, they would both have to adopt this rule again, and they would have to adopt that resolution or a similar one, which could be that exact same language, or it could be specific to a race. But the question of vetting is on the first sentence, it's whoever won the primary. On the second, it's whatever this body decided and authorized.
Edie Sinclair, SD 18.
Yes, ma'am.
My husband's running for city council. His opponent showed up to our SD convention. He can't decide whether he's a Republican or Democrat, and he's coming to our convention. So I'm very concerned about the vetting. I just happen to have extra platforms. I said, here, make a decision. So hopefully our convention will help him, but I am concerned about the vetting at the local level as well.
Mr. Chairman, Paul Braswell, SD 30. This is a point of information. And I realize we've been through a very busy season recently. Primaries, we all get busy. This is the second standing rule or special rule that I've seen in this body in the last 2 meetings. Could you expound on where we might find the repository of such rules? We can find the rules of the party, and we can find the bylaws online. I'm not finding the repository for these standing rules, and you yourself mentioned earlier the rule regarding electronic voting, but as we did not put that in the bylaws and put it into standing rules, it's not easily found, which was my concern at the last meeting.
You heard me refer earlier to the Google Drive. After every meeting, everything adopted in every meeting is posted in that meeting's Google Drive. So
would it
the
be-
standing rule on electronic voting was adopted a couple of meetings ago. That meeting's Google Drive has a copy of the standing rule.
Okay. I noticed.
Additionally.
I noticed as a further inquiry a couple of years ago that the standing rules were attached to the foot of our bylaws, which made it available for everybody, not just those who have access to the Google Drive. I think that would be an important thought to get staff to put those at the bottom, maybe, of our bylaws.
We could accommodate that. They have been publicly posted on our website as well. So if you go back to the date, they were there.
I just did a search on our website for special rules or standing rules, and there's not any results. Just trying to get information.
We'll work with it. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it would be under the roll call votes, so if you'll search under roll call votes, you'll see the roll call vote for the standing rule. But that said, per your suggestion, we will also add it to the rules. You're welcome.
One more point of information. I agree completely with the concept of this. I'm not sure about the practicality of it yet. I'm not comfortable with it yet.
You are welcome to volunteer to help staff work on vetting anything.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. The question is, like, every county's so different, and you got, like, Sue Evenwell thinks we have a county chairman in her part of the country who's really a Democrat, and he probably is. And in Tarrant County, definition of a Democrat is someone who's not you when you're running for office. And you'll have precinct chair races where you have 4 people running for a single precinct, and someone spending 15 grand on a precinct chairman race. There can be a lot of problems with the party picking one of these guys, and that's one thing that's concerned. How will those things work? Because it could end up damaging and dividing us more than helping us if we don't work those details out.
To clarify, your example of precinct chair race does not apply at all to this as proposed.
That's just a generic example.
Yeah. Thank you. Madam Chairman.
And Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, Mike, it's my understanding that, and just maybe this would help you feel better, Steve, that this is a standing rule and it stands to the end of the term. So this will just stand to the end of the term, and it would have to be re-voted on. It's not a bylaw, correct? And so, but I'm convinced that it's a very important thing to do. So those sorts of things, the questions you have, there would be time to work them out because it's not a bylaw.
A point of information.
Okay. Yes.
Identify. Jason Vaughn, Texas Young Republicans. Just in the special elections, I believe that for like city councils and all, at least it was used that as long as only one person that was running had a Republican history of voting. I believe that was the starting point of the vetting process. So if you had 2 people voting in the Republican primary, then that automatically would nullify this rule. Correct?
I can address that, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. McCloskey.
As the author of that resolution, that was included in that resolution that if there were more than one Republican running in that race, that the party would not get involved. That was one of the things I wanted to answer. Secondly, by the way, Mike McCloskey, Senate District 5. I didn't have an opportunity to do that. Secondly, is I think the vetting process would be SREC committee members working with staff and being able to identify those people. I mean, staff's not going to know all the local elections happening in all of Texas, but we do. I know every race that's happening in my Senate district on May 5th that I can give advice on. And I think we as SREC members can be the advice to staff saying we think the party should get involved in these races, and that's the way we can help with the vetting process.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bill?
Bill Eastland, representing the Texas Republican Assemblies. This is an issue that has come up in Tarrant County, where I'm from, and we have began a discussion about this. I would suggest that in the process, obviously the first requirement would be that there is affiliation with the party for any candidate, but beyond that also to consult people in the local party, county chair and other people in the local party, I think we also maybe ought to encourage local county parties to develop their own process for determining who proper candidates to support in local areas. In Tarrant County, we have so many cities it's hard to count them, and school districts as well. So this can be a complex process in urban counties. Thank you.
Duly noted. Thank you. All right, seeing no further discussion, time to take the vote on the approval of the new standing rule regarding use of RPT staff and resources for campaigns. Voting will begin momentarily. When you're ready, clickers at the computer. Aim the clickers at the computer. It's over there. And now it's there. Okay. Voting is closed. 58 yes, 0 no, 1 abstain. The motion passes. Thank you very much. Without objection, I've heard from 2 members that on an earlier vote, their vote was not recorded. Without objection, I will work with any member who needs a missing vote recorded to correct the ultimate call, the ultimate count. Thank you. Chairwoman.
Continuing on the same piece of paper, we have RPT rule amendment. This is rule number 8A, and I want to make a couple of explanations about this. First of all, this is an amendment to the party rules, and it is a give me the right word, that it's something that is specifically given to the SREC by the Texas Ethics Election Code. Thank you. As our responsibility if we should choose to implement it, which we did. So we just went through a primary with this rule, and we came back. Terry Holcomb presented this in amendment to the rule that we had passed. So that's what you have before you. What you see is the amendments that would be made, the parts that were marked out, the parts that were added. The parts that are not marked out or underlined are already in our rules, party rules, based on the vote we had in, was it in December, I believe? So if y'all want to take a minute to look at that. But Mr. Chairman, by direction of the committee, I move adoption.
Okay, the motion from the committee is
Mr. Chairman. Okay, I know. You go ahead and finish. I know.
Is to approve the adoption of the amendment to Rule 8A and the petition required for county chairs in certain counties. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, JTL was SD11. I moved to amend this rule to strike 10% and replace it with 18%.
Unfortunately, since that is out of the scope of the amendment currently being under, yeah.
Oh, it's noticed.
It was not
right.
noticed.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's not noticed.
I apologize. I'll go sit down now.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Braswell.
Mr. Chairman, Paul Braswell, SD 30. I move to amend the amendment as stated by striking the word 5, the numerical 5, and replacing it with the word 8 and the numerical 8.
Okay, the motion to amend is to replace the word and number 5 with the word and number 8. Is there a second to the motion? Motion is seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, Terry Holcomb, SD3.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to speak in favor of this friendly amendment. This is an amendment that I worked out with my colleague Paul Braswell and Terry DuBois, other small county representatives like myself, and we felt that this number would more achieve the goal that we were trying to achieve without getting down to the number 5, which they felt was a little too strenuous, and I concurred for the sake of compromise.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I was about to be, I know you did not, because I yielded, but we just made a change on the rule here that was not in the call. Can you clarify?
Yeah.
Can you clarify
Certainly.
why my amendment could have likely been ruled out of order, please?
When we notice the body on rule changes, they are noticed as to the scope and extent of those changes.
Sure.
And so if, for example, the notice had said, numerous changes to 8A, and had changes that included the 10% part and had changed it to 12 or changed it to 9 or changed it to 5, then you're wanting to rechange that number to something else would be completely appropriate. Since there was no notice given to the body that the 10% number would be under discussion, it's not appropriate to change it at this time, because it's out of the scope of what was noticed to the body. Now, changing the number within the underlined part in a section that was already being changed is entirely appropriate.
Okay, so therefore, what is underlined was actually what was being acted on by the body in the call.
Correct. The body was told, we want to talk about removing this other part and adding this part. So any discussion about that removal or that addition or anything within that removal or that addition is entirely appropriate.
Okay.
Anything outside of that is not.
Okay. If I didn't like you, I probably would appeal that.
With some exceptions.
just
Thank you for the question, though. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor of the amendment changing the number from 5 and the word 5 to the word and number 8, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Okay. Now we are to, seeing no further discussion on the motion as amended.
I want to speak to the main motion.
Okay, yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I've got, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Terry Holcomb, SD3. I've gotten to visit with many of y'all on this, and I appreciate everybody's willingness to have this discussion. The purpose of this, really, at the end of the day, is we have a lot of rural counties, small counties, that seem to keep being forgotten, number one. We have this problem in the legislature, too, where we want to put some things in place for big counties, and somehow the small counties aren't worthy. That's a little bit stressful for me as a small county representative, and so we wanted to extend this protection to them. But here's the important part. If you take $5,000 in a county of 25,000 people that run, 3,000 to 5,000 voters, $5,000 can swing any small county election. And what we're seeing out there is when we have effective small counties that have an effective executive committee, when effective chairman, the Democrats are starting to want to come over and get on our ballots to wreak havoc. If you want to be a chairman of an executive committee, you should be able to get 2 precinct chair signatures if you're going to be the chairman of that committee. This isn't a reach by any stretch of the imagination, and it will stop some of the nonsense we know the Democrats are trying to pull. So please support this amendment.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, this is a bylaws amendment, and therefore we'll do the clicker thing, which means aim your clicker at that. RP2 rule amendment, my apologies, RP2 rule amendment. You will be aiming your clicker there. Okay, go. At the computer, Tom, not the screen. There we go. We got it. Okay, the vote is 54 in favor, 4 against, and 1 abstain. The motion passes.
Can I speak? Can I speak?
All righty. Just
Can
a
I
couple
thank the
more.
body?
Yes, my apologies. Yes, sir.
Yes, Dwayne Wright, SD3. As the chairman of a small county that is being accused of Russian collusion and all the good stuff, I absolutely appreciate the votes on this right here. Thank you.
And on a completely unrelated note, the brownies were worth every penny, and if you didn't get one, by all means, see me later.
Just a couple more things, or actually probably just one more thing from the Rules Committee, not requiring any vote from y'all, just a part of the report. We had, at the last meeting, the Rules Committee voted, or y'all voted for the Rules Committee to look over the both the party bylaws and the party rules. I'm sorry, not the party bylaws, the SREC bylaws and the party rules, to look for any just redundancies or just, you know, things that could be worded better, just, you know, grammar, it's just anything that could be cleaned up. And so what we are doing for that is we have a document up. I think that y'all know that it's on Google Docs. The whole Rules Committee can get on and comment about it. We can respond to each other's comments, agree, disagree, discuss. We're doing that with both the rules and the bylaws. And then what we're planning to do is to give that entire document, which shows our discussion, to the Rules Committee, the Convention Rules Committee, so they can see the discussion that we had and the recommendations that we are making for changes. And then also we plan to do the same thing with the bylaws for the next SREC when it convenes. They will be able to look at that and look at our discussion and our recommendations for changes. So with that, I just want to say thank you again to the Rules Committee. I've really enjoyed serving with you. It's been an honor, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Legislative Affairs. Chairman Holcomb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, body. First, I would like to recognize the Legislative Affairs Committee. If you'll please stand. I got to tell you that these are probably going to be some of the greatest unsung heroes in the history of the RPT. The work that was done this session, and it's not about what legislation got passed and what legislation didn't get passed. The relationship building that occurred between the RPT and the legislature and the governor's office and this body will have far-reaching implications for our grassroots. We were successful in having conversations, a lot to do with Amy's leadership. And Amy, I'm so glad you're chairing this committee at convention. I'm looking forward to that work. We were successful enough that yesterday we were able to get the Homeland and Security Chairman to come to our meeting and talk to us about legislative priorities. Now, I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but that shows that we're making a real positive impact when they're willing to come here and talk about very difficult things. So give this Legislative Affairs Committee a hand. They've done a great job. Other than that, I'm looking forward to convention. I'll be serving on that committee with you. Looking forward to that. And please make sure that you inform your delegates of how important it is to come to that committee and let their voices be heard, because we have much important work to do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Amy.
Okay. Now we're on to special committee reports. And first up is election integrity. Marion Stanko, please report on the Committee on Election Integrity.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is our inaugural meeting yesterday for the Election Integrity Committee, and I'd like to thank the members who have been appointed to serve. Would y'all please stand up? Including staff and legal counsel and the chairman. We have a lot of work to do. Thank you very much. This committee was charged with several tasks, and including but not limited to, we're to compile information about methods and locations of voter fraud occurring in Texas, compile a list of voter machines used by each of the 254 counties, and have on file the expert on each system, such as HART and ES&S, and then also develop a plan to prevent voter fraud on a county and state level. Plan needs to be updated after every single legislative session or germane court decisions. That's where the legal comes in. They're very helpful. Develop training materials to combat voter fraud by educating county chairs, candidates, legislators, election administrators, and the grassroots. And that's also including poll watchers. Create permanent database of individuals, groups, candidates, or consultants suspected of voter fraud. Develop an election day and early voting playbook with pre-written writs and injunctions updated each cycle. Provide an active list of pro bono attorneys. That saves the party. We're very fiscally conservative. In each county to act on behalf of the party during election day and early voting. Also provide a database and contact information of people with recount experience. That's very helpful to the current candidates. Set up election day hotline for voter fraud complaints that may require immediate attention. Recommend legislation to improve voter integrity. Educate electorate of the voter fraud issues. Provide county chairs and ballot integrity committee Orvis data on the precinct level. We're currently at a state representative or county level right now. We'd like to bring it all the way down to home. On that basis, to identify potential problem areas. Help the county chairs prioritize their precincts in order to cover the poll watchers at the polling places. And assist the county chairs recruiting and training volunteers, partisan team, especially for nursing homes. All of these, including some other assignments, have been given to all the members of the committee, and we have one assignment for all of you. Number one was to collect information about voter fraud occurring in the counties. So if you will go to your county chairs and ask them to compile any complaints that they had heard during the previous elections, that would help us compile the data and target our areas. Also go to your election administrators and county clerks and request that information as well. That way we can identify some hot spots in the state. Oh, the question is how far back. If you can get the information going back as far as you can, we'd appreciate it because we want to collect the data and some statistics. That would be very helpful. So that's a task for all of you, and that's our number one task. So please collect the information. We are trying to go back and research the RPT calls and emails and hotline requests that we've had during the past several years that we've had a hotline. I do want to thank Brandon Moore for setting up the hotline during the primary, and he intends to have it set up for the runoff. It'll be kind of a slow day, but we want to practice so we can get ready for November. And we had 4 people answering the hotline and answering emails as they came in. And we want to have at a minimum the members of all the committee participating who are available on election day. So that really does help. I also want to thank our general counsel, our assistant general counsel, Trey Traynor, for bringing us up to date with some issues that are concerning the election integrity and ballot security. That's very important. So I thank you for the inaugural meeting that we've had. We have served on task forces in previous years, and it's nice to have a committee where we can actually get things done on ongoing basis rather than throwing together a task force right before an election. And Amy Clark has served on it, and Tony Ann DeShiel, our state representative Stephanie Click. I've served on several of them except for the last cycle. So I'm hoping that several of you will get involved. You don't have to be a member of the committee to help us strike out the the voter fraud that's occurring. During the next full term, we want to also concentrate on voter registration irregularities. We want to do some list maintenance in all the counties, working with the Secretary of State, the jury pool clerks. We do have a method for cleaning that up, finding the non-citizens who don't want to serve on juries, then they shouldn't be able to vote as well. And I want to leave you with this. It's not the people who vote that count. It's the people who count the votes. By Joseph Stalin.
Thank you, Chairman. Now for the new leaders on the rise. Oh, actually, if you will, just before you come up. Mr. Braswell, per your request, fortunately we have staff who I am frequently reminded are so incredible at their job that they're working at things long before we've asked them. So as a result, Rachel was able to confirm that she had already reviewed all of the minutes for this entire biennium and had already compiled all of the standing rules that had been passed by this body during this entire term. Because she had already done that, our incredible comm folks, i.e. Hutch, were able to post it on the website. So actually, if you search for SREC bylaws on our website, and you pull up the bylaws, there's a nice little link at the top that says standing rules, and you can link to all of the standing rules for this entire biennium.
Mr.
I
Chairman,
love having an amazing team.
Paul Braswell,
Yes, sir.
SD30. As I said, I am sure in this busy season of primary, it simply was overlooked. I knew it would be.
Well, actually, it wasn't even overlooked. We had to go look to see where those standing rules were in the past. They were never published in the past.
Appreciate the effort. It makes it much easier, especially for those who come in on a proxy basis.
You bet. Okay, now for the new leaders on the rise, Tony Endeshiel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. Okay, so I want to say this is an incredible committee that we've been working together for 3 years and to work alongside of counties that we hadn't been in before. So before I go any further, I need to have the committee stand and be recognized. Terry, Cassie, I want you to stand. There's Cassie, Fernando. Who are we missing? There's, a few other people that weren't able to come today. These, and Rhonda's already left. These guys have been awesome. Oh, there's Rhonda. Sorry, Rhonda. And I was looking on this side. I didn't go over there. I mean, it has been an impressive committee to be with, as we have worked with so many different counties. I mean, we've gone into, with the help of Terry, Uvalde, Del Rio, and worked with the engagement staff and with Cassie. We went into the Rio Grande Valley. We went down there to Brownsville. Webb County, the most recent success is that Webb County, which is Laredo, who had really, they kind of were just like at apathy to the nth degree. And we went down there, met with them. A handful of people came together, and then we went back with the help of Cassie and the Randy, the county chairman. We go in thinking we're going to have 15 people show up for an RLI, for a county convention or a convention training, and we had over 30 people show up, and the county chairman didn't even know half of them. It was by word of mouth, by the excitement, and people were willing to come out. And that's because, as you've heard all day, as you heard from Christy and her incredible staff with Stephen, how they are reaching out to people, and that's what we have done. And the numbers have just been incredible. How we have, and El Paso, where's my El Paso? Yeah, we love El Paso. We were out there too a number of times. So to each one of you, thank you for being a part of the team. I can't thank our engagement staff and the staff now with Christy and all her, the field staff. We will get things done, but it has been pretty incredible these last 3 years of seeing how we have touched and made a difference with a people that felt like they had been neglected. So thank you, all of you, for your hard work.
And now for the Grassroots Club, David Halverson.
All right. Well, thank you, and it's good to see more of you and more of you and more of you are joining the Grassroots Club. That's our first line of defense, is getting the SREC on the Grassroots Club. Just to mention our numbers right now, as far as the SREC members, we have 35 members currently as of yesterday who are, or pardon me, probably as of Tuesday, who are not, everybody say not members, or at least you need to confirm your membership, all right? I will not name you. Just if you suspect, please contact Kyle or contact Marissa so that you can get on the Grassroots Club bandwagon, all right? We have 1,275 members. We had somewhere shy of 1,000 last time we met, and at this point we have 1,275. Of course, Chairman mentioned that we have a substantial increase in our Grassroots Club funds, and so I'll take credit for that, but thank you very much. And I mean, this job pays a lot, so I do want to keep it. If I can get my committee members to stand who are here, those who are in Grassroots Club Committee, appreciate your diligence and your help very much. These guys are working very hard to make sure that all of our things are implemented. But Rachel, did you get an email from me? A link that we could just put up there? Okay, I don't know that you're going to be able to get to the link. I think we just want to present the link. Because the link is currently uploaded. The thing is huge. And so what we're doing is we're going to make that available. We're going to send out, we're going to get the party to send out the link. This link is going to have a link to the Grassroots Club video, also some screenshots showing how you can walk through the Grassroots Club website. I mean, how many know lots of folks just need some help with technology? And so we'll be able to present that and get you to get that out to your constituents and make sure that they can do that. We're basically creating our own web YouTube channel for the Grassroots Club. So that'll be available to you, and we'll get that sent out to you, all right? Where's Kyle? Oh, gosh. Right there when you need him. Yeah. Okay, as I understand, now the VIP suite, is that a go? Yep. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, we have several incentives that are going up that are being discussed for the convention. First of all, the first incentive you guys know about is that 48 hours. I think this is the furthest back we've ever gone. 48 hours ahead of time, all of our delegates who are members of the Grassroots Club will be able to get access to the hotel rooms before everybody else. So make sure you're encouraging everybody to join the Grassroots Club at $99. All right, everybody join it for 1 year. Get the $99 in there, and we'll be sending out more information on the other incentives. So thank you for your participation. And again, the commitment is to not have dinner time phone calls and not have direct mail. Those were the two major incentives when Chairman Ministeri began the program. We are doing our very best to keep the emails down to a crawl, to a very limited amount, and so we're working very hard on that. But the emails were not a part of the original commitment. So I just want to give everybody that context. All right. Well, again, get back you yourself. Get back to the grassrootsclub.com website and become a member. And one last thing is that always tell people to create an account. In fact, what we're going to do is make that mandatory, to create an account so people can go back and check their membership, check their if they're still a member, check if their credit card is coming close to expiring. And when you join today, make sure you check that box as remember me. It'll ask you for a password. Create a password, write it down, or however you do it, All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to serve on this committee, and hope to see you next time.
Thank you very much. That brings us to convention arrangements. Dion.
Okay, guys, I have determined that I am either the most loved or the most hated person in this room, depending on your perspective. So, hey, what can I say? Okay, first of all, I just want to say that I don't think I had any conception, I thought I did, of how huge the project is to put on a state convention. So, first of all, I want my committee to stand, and Kyle, I want to recognize Kyle. This is a huge undertaking, guys. And poor Kyle probably thinks I am the biggest nag on the planet, and I am very sorry for that. But you're almost done with me, and so there you go. Okay, so first and foremost, electronic voting. The county chairs, the TRCCA, put out a call to the county chairs and the SRECs that if you wanted electronic voting, that you could raise the money for it. And it has been a total of 14 SDs that have raised the money for their SDs to have electronic voting. They are SD1, SD11, SD12, SD14, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, 26, 30, and 31. So congratulations, guys. That's a huge hurdle, and it shows a great team effort. Okay, Jack, come on up here. Jack has an actual updated number of how much money was actually raised towards it.
$42,752. It's tremendous. Not only that, but to help out with support logistics, we've also grouped the SDs together on the same floors that will be participating in electronic voting. So if technical support is required, the people from the manufacturer will be able to get to you quickly. One thing I will point out, you know, today we're pointing at the thing and making sure that it picks it up. At the convention, they're bringing some kind of extended receiver, industrial, yes, repeaters. So everybody, you know, 400 people in a room won't have to walk over and point at something. It'll be picking them up, all right? Weighted voting, no deal, no big deal, easy fix, got it. That's it, and we're moving forward, and we'll have the contract ready to go and present to the body, officials committee, and then that's due in May with deposit and what have you. So I just want to say thank you to the SDs that raised their funds.
I have a question. Marion Stanko, SD 26. How is the electronic voting going to handle secret ballots?
It's all secret ballot.
Okay.
Okay? If we're going to display anything on the screens, okay, for one thing, it's going to be volunteer. We're going to have to find 14 people with projectors and ask them to bring them so we don't increase the cost. But it's just going to be serial numbers. Serial numbers.
Okay.
That's it.
Which also goes, I understand that there is a question about verifiable electronic voting. Am I correct about that?
What he was alluding to was a potential way to address the party position that any electronic voting being used must be independently verifiable. And so the question will be for the convention to decide if and how to use the electronic equipment so that it provides verifiability. The committee talked about that yesterday, and they're prepared with multiple potential ways to handle that, and have made sure, like things like projector, if that's the way they choose to address it, that they will have the equipment there available to accommodate whatever the rule is the body passes. Thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. McCloskey.
Mike McCloskey, Senate District 5. Since we have a number of Senate districts not participating in this, will there be two sets of caucus chair trainings, one with, one without? Since they're, I would think they'd be handled differently.
Yes, we are going, and we will have caucus chair training for the ones that have it and for ones that do not separately. We also will provide training for the secretaries that will have to be dealing with the new technology and the weighted votes separately. Secretaries generally do not get trained for the state convention. And so we will be providing training for the secretaries, and I have encouraged several. I know we did it in our SD. We have appointed one tech guy to go to training with our secretaries so that in the event that there is some kind of snafu, that hopefully they're going to be able to get us moving very quickly again. And it looks like Jack is moving to the...
Okay, thank you. That also includes training in the form of a YouTube video specifically for our situation that the manufacturer is going to create for us.
Okay. Yeah, that I didn't know. Thank you, Jack. Okay. He actually did several of what we were going to have to do. So look, it's going to take me less time, I think. I want to thank Jack Barcroft and Rena Peden. We had lost a committee member who typically does the seating for the floor and all of the space, and in conjunction with planning and all of that. And Jack and Rena and I have worked together, and Jack, I know, understands now the magnitude of trying to get 31 caucuses on a convention floor, and how everybody is like, oh, put me up front. Guys, not everybody can be up front, I have to tell you. Okay. One of my most frequent questions that I am hearing since the senatorial and county. Okay, all right. So what is the most frequent question that you're receiving as SREC? Hotels. Okay. I cannot even begin to count the number of calls and emails and texts that I get over this. And just FYI, for anybody watching on live stream, no, I cannot help you get a hotel room early. Okay? And David would tell you to join the Grassroots Club. Okay, first of all, guys, be patient. There are several things that they are having to put in place in order to be able to facilitate opening up the hotel blocks. One of the things that they're doing is a technology called Passkey, which will allow the delegates to click on the link and it directs them straight to the hotel. Now, correct me if I get anything wrong.
So that actually avoids the problem of having to go follow a link off-site, because in fact, and the reason why that's valuable is once that link is out there, if somebody was to share that with somebody, you know, they would be able to register in our block without registering for the convention. So by embedding it in the registration website, you have to go through the process to get to that section. Does that make sense?
Yes.
To everybody? Okay. So, and so that's the reason why we need to wait on that. We're still finalizing some of the VIP applications that we've received. So we need to make sure those people are taken care of before, because once the block is open, I mean, the host hotel will go in a matter of days. And we're still, in fact, compiling some of the delegate lists. We've still, even though the deadline has come and gone many times over, we have still, unfortunately, not received all the information that we need to have an accurate list to be able to fairly register everybody at the same time as much as possible. So, but all those things are hopefully coming together real soon.
Yes. Okay. So as David Halverson has said, Grassroots Club members who are delegates or alternates will get 48 hours lead time to get their hotel. Guys, as he said, this is probably the longest amount of time that we've ever done for Grassroots members. But for the rest of the delegates and the alternates, let me just assure you, we've got one of the biggest hotel blocks that we've ever had too. We have 800 rooms blocked off at the Grand Hyatt. We have 600 combined at the Regency and the Menger. And then we have, I think, another 6 hotels that have overflow with special pricing. So please be patient. I promise you, you will not have to sleep under a bridge in order to go to the state convention or in your car. So an email is going to be sent out so you know when it opens up. As an SREC member, and this is a reminder, and I have had several calls on this, As an SREC member or a county chair, for those of you who are watching or here, you got a different process than the delegates go through. That link that you have, when you're forwarding it to your friends thinking, I'm going to help them go ahead and get a hotel room, it doesn't work. And then they get frustrated because they're not hearing back from the housing people. And not only that, it frustrates our housing person because she's getting 300 calls on the Saturday after the convention. So I'm asking you, please do not send out things that you were given by that are specifically for you or for the county chairs. It's causing a great deal of frustration, not only with the delegates themselves because they're panicking because they think that they're not going to get a hotel room, and then they're not getting the response that they think that they need to, but this poor woman is dying trying to get back to everybody that is contacting her. So.
Something you said, should we, SREC and county chairs, should we have already gotten a confirmation back from when we sent our reservation?
She said that there has been kind of a snafu. Some people are getting their confirmation, some people haven't. If you have not received a confirmation, if you would let me know, or if you would let Kyle know. But there are cases where some people have not received their confirmation when the hotel sent it out. That's what Michelle told me on Wednesday. Okay, any other questions? Any other comments? Oh, Gail, get to a mic.
When you say that you want to celebrate or review, take pictures of the SDs, of the diversity across the state, and then you said we're going to need your help. I missed what help you need from us.
Okay, well, do what? Yeah, I'd like Mark to come up and explain that.
Okay, the idea that we came up with was for each individual senatorial district or each individual county, that's one of the things that we have to work out. They choose a local artist in their area, and then that local artist will, or you have a committee, and that local artist will make a poster of the culture of where you live. On the top of the poster, it's going to have Texas Our Texas, the theme of our Republican convention. And then at the bottom of it is going to be, you're going to have, we'll give some specifications. It'll say 2018 Convention San Antonio, but it will be your county, what is unique to you. And then what we want to do is in the hallway, we want to put these on museum boards and have all of the delegates of the convention come by and vote on them and see which poster is the best, or the top 3 posters is the best for the entire convention. And then that'll be presented, an award will be presented at the convention. And then we had some other ideas that came up as far as making that a fundraiser. After the convention, the posters will be given back to the SD Central District, and then they can make copies of it and they can use that as a fundraiser. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Jack.
This is a little unique. Have you ever seen in Iowa the state fair, you know, where presidential nominees always go? They've always got the buckets in front of their pictures, and you drop something in the bucket of the nominee you like. We're going to do that. We're going to sell tokens because it is a fundraiser, and you'll drop your token in the bucket in front of the picture that you're voting for.
Okay. If there are no other questions, no other comments, then guys, get out there, make sure that your delegates are informed, that they know what's going on, and that they're excited, because you know what? The state convention will directly impact our November elections. And it's important that we have an informed and excited electorate that goes out to work for our Republican nominees. Thanks to everyone who's helped, and I'm turning it over. We are working out the details now, so we've still got some details to work out. We just got the idea yesterday.
One more question on that, Dion. David Halverson, SD12. With respect to, can you guys send us something? All of it, all the SD.
Yeah, that's
folks?
what we're just.
Okay.
If you'll
What do you
wait
need
about a
from us?
week,
Yeah.
we just
Okay.
got to hammer out some details and make sure that everything that we do is going to comply, and we need to work with Kyle and with James to make sure that we are, we're not stepping out of our lane and getting them into trouble, right?
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Now, Tanya Robertson, would you please come and report on advancement?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Working on this advancement committee has been an adventure, to say the least. Trying to find the path that that we should go and the ideas we should implement, and who all has visited the convention tab on the RPT website? Awesome. Did y'all see that great delegate welcome packet? Have you seen that? What good feedback? Okay. I want to recognize the members of the Advancement Committee. If you guys would please stand up and thank these wonderful people for all the work they did on that packet. And plus Rachel, of course, and all her awesome work helping us navigate through that, and the videos that she put, the video trainings with that packet. I actually use that packet to train for conventions, and people love the graphics. Okay, so going forward, we have talked in the past about forming a speakers bureau, an RPT speakers bureau. And I know there was a page on the website in the past with a few elected Republican, officials that you could call and schedule to have them speak at your club meetings. Well, we're going to try something different. Oh, I'm sorry, Dennis. Can you hear me? Okay. Sorry. We're going to try something different. We're formulating an application that potential speakers can fill out to apply to be on the RPT Speakers Bureau. Now, this would be, of course, they would go through a vetting process, okay, a very stringent vetting process. Like, we ask for everything but their social security number, I think, right, guys? Down to a video of them speaking, because we want to make sure, even though there will be a disclaimer at the bottom of the application that they are not officially representing the RPT, we are, helping them place them with Republican clubs. So we're working on that application, and we're also working on a form where clubs can request a speaker. So I think it's going to help, two ways, because I know as an officer of clubs, we kind of run out of ideas, in our areas of who we can invite for speakers, and it's the same people over and over. So maybe this will help with that, and we'll get some new blood going. So please be looking for that on the website. We hope to have that up really soon. We're going to have a conference call committee meeting in about 10 days, 11 days. I got to, oh, okay. So, and hopefully we can finalize some of that and just be looking for it. And I'm excited. I'm excited about that. And I think that's it. That's it for my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And that brings us to the Convention Site Selection Committee. Linda Kinney, if you'd come and report on that.
I'm not only the shortest person reporting, but this is going to be the shortest report. The Convention Site Selection Committee did meet. We had no action to take. We are waiting on RFP specs to be compiled for to be sent out to the cities that we are going to consider.
As a reminder, the Convention Site Selection Committee is working on 2022. We already have this year in San Antonio, and 2 years from now in Houston. They're working on what's after that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Mike McCloskey, District 5. Very quickly, just to let folks know People may think 2022 is a long way away. In convention site selection, it is not. And there is limited availability 4 years out. So we are really challenged to try and find availability, and we really have 4 cities to work with. So just want to let folks know that.
Yep. Which is why we're working ahead this time. Any unfinished business? There's none that I'm aware of. Therefore, moving to new business. Is there any new business? I've got a note about amending the SREC interpretation.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Jeremy Blosser, SD10. I move that as a motion to amend or rescind something previously adopted, that we amend the SREC interpretation of Rule 8F. C?
That's what the notice said.
Yeah,
The notice.
waiting for staff to pull it up. Amend the final interpretation of the perceived ambiguity here to be that this rule applies to every meeting of the SREC, not just the organizational meeting.
Okay, motion has been made. Is the motion seconded? Okay, motion's been made and seconded. We're now going to begin debate. I have opinions. I would like to contribute to this conversation. Therefore, I am stepping out of the chair for this debate to join you on the floor. Vice Chair Amy Clark, if Vice Chair Amy Clark will come rule in our stead. Her gavel is much bigger.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, for my very large gavel. Okay. Could we please read off the motion again, Mr. Blosser?
Yes, Madam Chairman. My motion is that we amend the SREC's previous ruling on Rule 8C to be that it applies to every meeting of the SREC, not just the organizational meeting.
Okay, I have a motion and there was a second.
Point of information.
Yes, sir, Mr.
May
Holman.
we get the rule up on this screen, please?
One moment. Brandon, would you come to the front, please? I've been sabotaged. I take the mic and you guys shut off the internet. I see. All right, we're up on both screens. All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes, Madam Chairman. Jeremy Blosser, SD10. Members, a little bit of refresher here in our minds of what happened here. The Rules Committee of the last state convention took up, as it often does, the question of how to handle the organizational meeting of the SREC and further amendments to bylaws, because that meeting tends to be very brief. It's 10, 15 minutes. New members come in, they're handed the bylaws from the past session, and then they just adopt them and move on. And then we move into a period where they're amendable to 2/3 majority. And the convention committee has looked at this over several terms and discussed the best way to try to improve that process. Forcing the threshold to stay lower through multiple meetings, or separating the bylaws into established stuff and newer stuff and all kinds of things. The last convention, we looked at this and we decided that we would avail ourselves of an option Roberts provides, which is that there's 2 high vote thresholds. There's 2/3 and there's majority of the full membership. We ran into majority membership as a different vote threshold than other votes this cycle that reached 2/3 but didn't reach 2/3 of the whole membership, for example. So what the committee at the convention put forward and the convention adopted was this language, which had an addition at the end there that the SREC rules, bylaws or rules shall always be amendable by a majority of the entire membership, subject only to notice requirements. And the SREC at our organizational meeting adopted a subsequent language for amending our bylaws that allowed majority membership. This came up again earlier in our term. There was perceived ambiguity here that since this falls under a heading of organizational meeting of the State Republican Executive Committee as a title, and since the committee chair at the convention did not give the full text even though it was printed, the question was, did always mean always, every meeting, or did it only mean the organizational meeting? And the ruling that this body adopted was that it meant only the organizational meeting. I'm bringing this up again now as the last item of regular business this body's going to look at this term. There's no amendments out there for our bylaws or anything else, so I don't expect it to actually be invoked, but I want to fix this as one of the last things I do before I leave this office. I do not want y'all to walk into a convention where the Rules Committee feels they need to spend a lot of time underlining and circling and making sure it's very clear what they mean when they use the word always, nor do I want us to have a precedent where everybody at a microphone on the 9,000 delegate floor is calling points of order every time a committee chairman misses a word that they thought was important when it's printed in their programs. I think that's a recipe for chaos. I don't think it's going to help anybody. I printed and recirculated a letter you all saw in the past. This is signed by members of the Rules Committee of that last state convention, including our current chairman. I thank him for noting that and stepping out of the chair as appropriate. We knew what we were doing. We meant to do it. We know it's atypical, but it was allowed. We were trying to address a specific issue, and we'd ask that this body, as this letter says, let the vote of the convention stand, let the literal words mean what they literally mean, and I would ask that you vote in favor of this amendment. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, Jack Barcroft, SD 24. We're talking about something that's going to expire in 9 weeks. 9 weeks. And, you know, there's a message out there that's going around that anybody that doesn't want to change the previous chairman's ruling is putting out the message that they believe that the delegates are idiots and don't know what they're voting on. Obviously, that's not the case. And I would say that, you know, you don't get a second bite at the apple. I mean, although we've been doing it a lot lately, but you shouldn't get a second bite at the apple, and you shouldn't take this away from the body. The Rules Committee is going to be doing this in 9 weeks. So if they want to make such a radical change to allow our governing laws to be changed by a simple majority, then they should make it very clearly stated at the next convention so everybody can get an up and down vote on that directive. So therefore, I move that we actually postpone voting on this indefinitely.
Okay, I have a motion to postpone indefinitely and a second. We can, okay. The debate now goes into the merits of the question itself. Mr. Bloss, Chairman Dickey.
So the merits are on the question of whether or not to postpone indefinitely? I'm sorry, I'm unclear.
That particular motion allows you to debate the motion before we decide whether or not.
Excellent.
As a body, we want
Then yes, Madam
Not
Chairman.
just to postpone it.
Thank you. Two things, if I may. First, just a point of information. As chair, I don't get assigned a clicker, but since we have some people who are not, if we cast a vote on this, I will be casting the vote that will reflect on the screen as SD27 male. It'll actually be me. So just for the information for the body. Now, on the merits of unless I should just literally do a voice vote and record it separately that way. Okay. Or some other clicker or whatever.
The secretary understands that.
Yeah, thank you. On to the merits of the question. First, to correct a couple of the things that Mr. Barcroft said, this is not simple majority. Please.
Simple majority is a majority of those present. A majority of the body, just like 2/3 of the body, is not the same as a simple majority or a simple 2/3. It is a majority of the body. Regardless of how many people are present, it has to be 33 votes or 32 votes. No, 33 votes, because there are 64 members of the body. It is not a simple majority. Secondly, in order to have interpreted this differently, you had to say that the Rules Committee and the body not only misunderstood the word always, but misunderstood 2 other words in the same sentence, so that they misunderstood 3 different words in one sentence that was talking about rules. And for those of you who, like I, have been to many state conventions and have seen many SREC organizational meetings, those meetings happen literally minutes after the convention. Now, Mr. Barcroft, my SREC committee man, who I supported and voted for, at that last convention where he was elected, he was also elected a national, we were also involved with delegate selection and worried about that. He literally had minutes to show up to a meeting at which he was voting on the organizational rules, which is the bylaws, which is why I, as his Rules Committee member, voted for this change. It is not productive to assume that whatever packet of rules the SREC committee people elected at convention are presented with minutes before their vote is useful. There's a reason that we require days of notice for any rule change. You're talking about hundreds of potential rule changes. I mean, literally, the temporary set of rules passed presented to the SREC could contain dozens or hundreds of changes with minutes of notice, not days of notice, and no highlights as to those changes. It is possible, you could argue, that we in the Rules Committee were too heavy-handed, and we should have split the difference. We should have said majority of the body will work for the first 2 or 3 meetings of the SREC term. Sure, that'd be fine, and that would address the concern that I've heard over and over that, oh my gosh, if you got a close vote on any bylaw change, you're going to spend the whole rest of the term arguing that bylaw change as everybody hopes they get a shift. You guys spent earlier in this term way more time arguing about trying to avoid the potential of changing your rules than you ever spent on actually changing the rules. No one proposed multiple copies of a rule that led to this fear that presented itself in this thing. So, the precedent you set in your minutes, and I was here for the meetings, you said as a body, because the chairman didn't read the whole thing specifically, and because the heading was imperfect, we will completely read this to mean the opposite of what it read. Which means, if anyone else is a rules wonk like I am, and they're at our convention in June, they are going to have to bring up a point of order for every single time that I or any other permanent chair of the committee, the convention, reads off a heading for a change for our bylaws, for our rules. Every single time. Our rule, our default, our position should be to do everything we can do so that the convention is as productive and focused and well operating as possible. That's why we have committees here, so that that stuff gets worked out before it comes to the body. That's why here we do what we can do before it goes to the convention. Please correct this so that we don't have a mess of a convention. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, Jeremy Blosser, SD10, speaking against the motion to postpone indefinitely. On the timeliness question, this absolutely is timely. The question right now is what message this SREC is going to send into the Rules Committee of the next convention. The question is not what threshold will the SREC take up future bylaw changes under, because this is our last regular meeting. When that state committee meets, it has always been a question there, how much should the state party rules dictate things to the SREC? And they very much have historically erred on the side of leaving the SREC to its own business. If the last word from this body to that convention committee is to leave the previous understanding, the previous ruling in place, people who thought the current rule was heavy-handed, you ain't seen nothing yet. You are asking the convention committee to get extremely specific. You are telling them that literal words aren't going to mean it. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a convention committee that added a new section to the rules that said this is what the SREC's bylaws will be. And we really mean it. The timeliness question here is not about bylaw changes. It is about the gentleman and gentlewoman's agreement between this body and the convention that what words they give us, we will abide by. That is the question before us right now. We won't look for definitions of the word is. We won't look for ways to get around things that we didn't necessarily agree with. We will stick with what they gave us, what they tell us they gave us. So please vote against postponing indefinitely. Please vote in favor of the main motion. Madam Chairman, I'm requesting, and I'll use the right word, I'm demanding a roll call vote on both of these.
Mr. McCloskey?
Madam Chairman, Mike McCloskey, Senate District 5. I find that his last statement to be what this is all about. This is very surreal. We've gone back to 2016 and we're rehashing something that was settled. It was settled and was settled for a reason, and we've operated under that since 2016. The only need for that is because they want that record vote. They want to use that against certain people that don't support this, when in 65 days, we are going to have a temporary rules committee. I've already appointed my rules committee member. We've done that from our Senate district, and I know many of you have too. And if you haven't done so, you will do so quickly. And those folks should be tasked with this. There will always be a disagreement. If the other side prevails today, then we're going to have a disagreement with that. So the place to settle that is let the new rules committee decide that. Bring it to the convention. Whichever way that works out is fine. I'm okay with that. But we had this ambiguity. We always have. Someone's going to feel like this is not settled. Let's give it to the committee that has been purposed to do this. We're doing this all over for nothing when this is going to happen in 65 days. And if anyone thinks that, regardless of which way this goes, is not going to be discussed at all, they're dreaming. It's not the reality. Whether it goes one way or the other, this will be a major topic at the Rules Committee, the Temporary Rules Committee at State Convention. We need to let them do that. This is not the place to do this. The last thing in our term, we've already determined in our Rules Committee, we're having no further actions on RPT rules or SREC bylaws before convention. So there's no other purpose other than to have this record vote that they want to have for a particular purpose. Thank you.
Ms. Starnes?
Dionne Starnes, SD30. You know, it was really hard when we did this back in December of 16. And I know that it was said a lot about the intent of the grassroots and what they wanted us to do. And again, when this was brought up, and I asked why it was being brought up so close to the convention, I was given the answer by Chairman Dickey that it was because the grassroots were angry and they wanted it fixed. So I thought about that a lot. And I did what I always do. I went to my grassroots, my district, the delegates from 2016, and I polled them. And I asked them 3 questions. Number 1, were you aware that there was a proposed rule change? And explain the rule change. Out of the 36 people that I managed to get to, only 5 were aware of that. All were opposed to that. The second question I asked, for the bulk of the majority who weren't aware of it, would you, had you been aware, supported, opposed, don't care, don't know? And it was 2 don't knows and 2 don't cares, and the rest would have opposed it. My last question was explaining that there was a dispute on the interpretation, the chairman's ruling, and that it was being brought back up, and how do you want me, as your SREC representative, to vote? Across the board, I was told that they wanted to leave it to the convention, and I crossed off action lines. It went from Tea Party, Libertarian, to establishment, to old Reagan, whatever labels you want to give, we have them all in my district. And they're all engaged, and they're all passionate. And every one of them thought that it needed to go back to the convention for clarification. So for me, I have checked with my district. I did do my due diligence, and I do know what they want. And I will be doing what the direction of my committee, or not my committee, but my ST does. And that is to vote to send it back to the convention for clarification. Thank you.
Ms. Sprinkle? And before you begin, I would ask that we respect our colleagues and keep our conversations to a minimum. Thank you.
Lisa Sprinkle, ST 29. Now I know where I'm from. I want to remind everybody that we watched a video of the convention where Chairman Meckler, in case you've forgotten this whole scenario that we've been through and we're going through again, where the chairman announced and read the rule from the chair. Under parliamentary procedure, am I not correct, that without objection, it is what is read from the podium, from the chair? Is that not correct? No, that's not for you to comment on because you did not see the video that we all saw.
Well, let's direct your
The comment is when the chair reiterates a motion and he rewords it and no one objects to that rewording, is it not what the chair pronounced? Okay. And that was the reasoning that we all used when we watched that video. It was very clear on the video that Chairman Meckler had said this is for the organization meeting, and the reason for that was because you have new SREC people who have no clue what's going on, and if you had to get 2/3 vote at that meeting, good luck, Charlie. But once the SREC is in place and people have experience, now you should have a higher threshold for the bylaws. All of that makes total sense. What doesn't make sense is that every single vote we would take would be not by simple majority, but rather by a majority of the membership. A majority, we've seen it. We've been there, 33 to 31. This is what we've had the last several meetings. Leave it alone. I'm going to be on the Rules Committee at convention. I guarantee you this will come up again. And leave it for the temporary Rules Committee. Leave it for convention. We've already been here. We've already done this.
Pastor Holcomb?
Thank you, Terry Holcomb, SD3, speaking against postponing and speaking for the main motion, I guess is the right way to say this. Here we are talking about consistency. And we heard plenty earlier today about honoring the will of the body. This language is not ambiguous, never unclear. It says what it says. It's easy to read and it's easy to understand. And the decision before us today has even been magnified that much more. Are we going to be consistent in what we say? What this vote is really about, Madam Chairwoman, is whether we're going to honor the previous convention of the body there or not. And as I just heard many of my colleagues say, we're going to honor the will of delegates. So we're going to find out if we're consistent in that, in this vote. I think inconsistency is one of the most dangerous things that this body can have. So I would ask that we do not postpone and that we support the main motion.
Mr. Robbins?
Will Robbins, SD4. I rise to speak in favor of postponing indefinitely. As we were finishing lunch today, Senator Buckingham came and spoke to us. She told us the Astros didn't win the World Series by going out to the pitcher's mound and getting into a fist fight with each other. We began this SREC term by going out to the pitcher's mound and getting in a fist fight with each other over this decision. It took 2 meetings, and we walked away very, very bloody and beaten up. Now here we are at the end of the season, and we're at the pitcher's mound, and we're about to bloody each other up again. We have a decision to make. That is to let what we decided at the beginning stand, and our appointments to the Rules Committee, the delegates that we have already elected to the state convention, fix this, or we can pull our fists out and we can duke this out, and we can walk away from our final meeting of this term of the SREC beaten up, bloody, and with a black eye. I hope you'll stand with me and choose to walk away with the decision we've already made and not re-injure ourselves. Let's move past this. Let the convention and the delegates we've already elected fix the issue with the rule and make it more clear for the next term, and let's postpone this indefinitely. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Mr. Cleed? I believe you were next.
Okay. Marvin Cleed, SD 17. I just want to state that the way to achieve the result that Mr. Blosser is suggesting would be to come up with another paragraph or a separate rule that would have the correct title, which would have something to do with amending bylaws and not under the title Organizational Meeting of the State Republican Executive Committee. Thank you.
Okay, again, I'm going to ask that you please keep your conversations to a minimum so that we may hear our colleagues. Mr. Blosser?
So request for information, the ruling I just heard, or the parliamentary inquiry I just heard, was when the chair states a motion, that is the motion being voted on. Correct. So parliamentary inquiry, does that stating of the question principle extend to a committee chair giving a report? So it is what the chairman of the convention said, not what the committee chair said, that was what was being voted on. Request for information. And this is history, but it was in the video we all saw. Did the chairman of the convention say anything about the rule being limited to the organizational meeting?
The parliamentarian says from his memory he did not read the rule. As
Okay.
the chairman standing here before you, I will honestly say that I can't, without that in front of me, I can't answer that off the top of my
Not trying to put you on the spot by making it a question. I'll go ahead and speak. He didn't. He referred people to the book, and it was printed there. What I am trying to achieve here is not anything to do with the language of this rule, and I really wish people would hear me say those words. I am not trying to achieve anything to do with SREC bylaws right now. This is like a few meetings ago when I got really upset about the meaning of the word "and" in a rule. This is not about how we amend SREC bylaws. This is not about how we do anything we do. The bloodying of the mound I want to avoid, that is still avoidable with this vote, is the bloodying of the mound between the Rules Committee and the SREC heading into the next term. I want to avoid that fist fight. I want to avoid that acrimony, everything else, by telling them, we got this one wrong, never mind. Fine, you find the language imperfect. You find the heading imperfect. That's great. What are you going to do about it? What message are you going to send to them? What are you going to ask them to make their, yes, it's going to come up at the convention, obviously, but what do you want that conversation to be about? Do you want it to be about making the SREC listen to words, or do you want it to be about the issue itself? I'm asking you to let it be about the issue itself. I'm asking you to let it not be about a fist fight at the mound. That's all I'm asking for. Thank you.
Mr. Braswell?
Madam Chairman, Paul Braswell, SD 30. I agree with Mr. Blosser that as we come into the organizational meeting of this august body, there is very little time for those of us who are walking into it as newbies to realize what's going on very well. We've been through a week that we're all very tired. Yes, we're all trying to get to our next meeting so we can talk about being delegates to the national convention. It's a very time-limited issue. And I'm going to agree even further that our bylaws in this august body are not in the best order. We've spent a couple of the last meetings perfecting one rule in particular on voting, where the operative sentence had 8 commas in it. Folks, no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. 9 commas in an operative sentence on how we vote in this room. 9, now parse that. You can parse it about 7 different ways, maybe 8. Our bylaws need constructive change, but putting words in the wrong section of your bylaws is not the way to fix this. Adding 3 more words and an extra comma is not the way to fix it. Just because you put a litter of puppies in the oven does not make them biscuits. It really doesn't. Put your words in the right place. That's all I'm saying, okay? Let's put our words in the right place. Let's put this to the convention. Let's put it to the Rules Committee. And if the Rules Committee needs to write a better set of bylaws and work on that as part of their work, that's what we get time for. Let's please give this work to the convention where the problem initiated and make sure it comes back to this body with a very clear intent, so we're not trying to interpret what the meaning of a word is that's in the wrong paragraph. Please, let's postpone this and let the convention do their business so then we know exactly what we're doing and what we're voting on.
Mr. Secretary, I think that phrase was certainly minutes worthy. I just said the phrase was minutes worthy, the puppies and that's. I'll remember that one. Yes, Ms. Stanner.
I think he was at the mic before I was.
Okay, guys, before we continue, please take your conversations outside of the rail. Let's be respectful to our fellow delegates. Or where are we? Our fellow SREC. Mr. Landevar.
Jorge Landevar, SD9. This isn't really about 2/3 versus majority. I am against a majority body being able to change the bylaws past the first meeting. I don't like that. However, we didn't set that rule. The Rules Committee did, and they were pretty clear. They argued about it. They have the word any in there. Furthermore, Meckler did not. I'm sorry? Furthermore, Meckler did not. I'm sorry?
Okay, please address your comments.
Furthermore, the chairman did not read the rule from the podium. The chairman of the Rules Committee did when he made his mistake. Sorry, he did not even read the rule from the podium. They referred it to the packet. It was written in the packet and handed to everyone. This means that the rule that we have that we're arguing about, that's the rule that we actually have. That's the rule that was passed. It was passed correctly. Any means any. The only way we could change this to make it more obvious would be if the Rules Committee adds a line at the end, and we really mean it. That's kind of silly. You don't want that kind of fight. It's kind of like we keep joking about Congress ignoring the Constitution, and we should write an amendment called "and we really mean it." Well, that ended up happening. It was the 9th and 10th Amendments were the "and we really mean it" amendments. But even so, they still got ignored. Well, you've created that problem here, where the Rules Committee creates rules, and now we're ignoring those rules. That's bad. Let's not do that. Please vote no on the motion to postpone indefinitely.
Ms. Stanner.
This is now twice, Gail Stanart, SD15. This is now twice that we have heard from the Rules Committee on this particular rule, SREC rule. They have spoken and they have signed a letter to all of us saying what their intent was and what they meant. It is obvious to them because of the questions that have come from previous discussions that we've had here that there is a problem. My solution would be instead we could postpone indefinitely, and I think they will take this up. But if we want to clarify that, then I would simply say let's pass a resolution asking them to clarify it. That is another option.
Mark Ramsey, SD7. Mark Ramsey, SD7. Is that better? Well, when we're getting into the realm of what we remember, I remember it closer to what Jorge said, in that what was actually said was it was in the paragraph under the organizational meeting heading, but it was actually paraphrased from there a bit. To do anything other than reverse the mistake, I think, is wrong. And I think most of us realize that we probably made a mistake back when we did this before. With the respect and unity and the fact that this is very important that we get things right. Obamacare was a mistake. If Congress was meeting on the very last day of its session, I would not want them to punt to the next session to try to fix Obamacare. If they could fix it that day, the very last day, I think they should do that. I think they should acknowledge the mistakes. I think we should acknowledge mistakes and correct this. It's certainly extraordinarily important because this, as Chairman Dickey said, could set this really bad precedent that could really gum up the works in a convention or even the SREC next time around. I would also add on the organizational meeting and only minutes to decide. My freshman term on the SREC, I came in and had an amendment to make the SREC more transparent, which back 6 years ago it wasn't very transparent. And the culture and the limited time on that organizational meeting is such that I practically had my head handed to me on a platter for even suggesting any change at all to those organizational bylaws. And I mean, it's not enough time, as the chairman said. It's not just symbolic. We should fix this. We clearly have the instructions from the Rules Committee, including, importantly, members of the committee that did not agree with the rule change, but nonetheless, they wrote us and put their name on the letter that they were fully aware of what that rule change was, even though they may have personally voted against it. And that's probably most of it. We need to walk out of here either way, very respectful. But I would very, very passionately ask that maybe for the first time this weekend, but for the last time of Jeremy's term, that you join me in voting against postponement and for Jeremy's motion. Thank you.
Mr. Goldman.
Okay, Michael Goldman, SD 21. So the words and the context are very important here, and we've had some significant discussion about what the Rules Committee's intention was, but what is determinative here is what did the delegates understand. So I have here the rule, which I don't think has been read in full at any part in this discussion. It's only 4 lines long. Organizational meeting of the State Republican Executive Committee, long dash. The SREC shall hold its organizational meeting after the adjournment of the biennial state convention. The agenda of the organizational meeting shall include but not be limited to the adoption of bylaws and or rules for the biennium. SREC bylaws or rules shall always be amendable by a majority of the entire membership, subject only to adopted notice requirements. That looks like it's about the organizational meeting. And because we have to honor the intent of the delegates, not the Rules Committee, the delegates to the convention, I believe that we have to uphold the previous chairman's ruling from 2016. But most importantly, this is the third time we voted on this. This is what they do in the European Union. They have an election on should we add some bureaucracy, and it fails in one country or another. So they have it again. They have the election again and again over the course of years until they get the result they wanted all along. And then when they get a result they don't like, it's a huge problem for them. They don't know what to do because there was... So let's just stick with what we've already done. I believe there are good people on both sides of this debate, but let's leave it to the next convention to fix this, and let's for now uphold the previous ruling. Thank you.
Mr. McCloskey?
I believe actually Terry was next.
Pastor Holcomb?
Thank you. Terry Holcomb, SD3, Madam Chairwoman. I just would like to say that I don't think there's going to be any bloodying of fists. As a matter of fact, anyone that disagrees with me, I'll be available for a hug as soon as we're done voting.
I'm going to need you to make the sign that says free hugs, Mr. Holcomb. Mr. McCloskey.
Mike McCloskey, Senate District 5. There's been several statements made this afternoon that everyone's in agreement that this was a mistake. Not everybody's in agreement that this was a mistake. A lot of people are in agreement that the right decision was made at that meeting. We have held seven SREC meetings since that decision was made. At any of those meetings, if someone wants to continue to bring this up again and again and again until they get the result they want, like Mike said, they could have done that. So they wait till the very end of our term when we're getting ready to go to state convention. We have, many of us have already chosen our person to serve on the Rules Committee, and we're ready to do that. And there is no reason, we've already determined there are no bylaws or rules changes coming. There is no reason to do this. Let the convention do it. That is their function. There will always be a disagreement. If you flip it today, there are going to be people that disagree with that. That is what the convention is for. Let them do their work.
Pastor Broden.
Pastor Broden, SD 23. I call the question.
Mark Dunham, SD 29, second.
You were actually the third, Dunham. Somebody beat you. But that's okay. The question has been called and seconded. The motion is now to end the debate. All those in favor of ending the debate, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The debate is ended. We are now voting on. All right, there was a demand for a roll call vote on the motion to postpone indefinitely. In order to determine the demand for a roll call vote, I'm going to ask for those in favor of Mr. Blosser's roll call vote demand to please rise at this time. No, sir. Listen, he asked for a roll call vote. I need to see 20% of the body have to agree to a roll call vote. To save time, because I can't hear in percents, I'm asking if you agree with his demand for a roll call vote. We are not voting on this at this time. If you agree with his demand for a roll call vote, please rise. Okay, so you may sit down. So this will be a roll call vote. All right, so now we are voting on the motion to postpone indefinitely. All right, so if you will please get your electronic devices, this will be a roll call vote. Again, we are voting on the motion to postpone indefinitely. In just a second. The voting screen up. There's just a delay. It's not indefinite, so. I think they're actually saying that side of the room needs more time to vote than this side does. I'd be offended. I think they like to see. We're going to do it the same way we always do it. ready? Okay, so take your devices and begin voting. Okay. Okay, so please state that. Will you come to the mic and state that, please, so everybody can hear? If there's no objection, we had one device that did not.
Both votes in SD 31 voted yes. Miss.
For postponement.
For postponement, yes.
Okay. All right, so that makes it a tie with Mr. Roller's vote, so it's 29-29. And as such, the motion to postpone indefinitely fails. So we will now go to the question, the original question. If we could put that back up on the screen.
Point of order. Will Robbins, ST4. The agenda said that this was noticed at the first quarter meeting. I guess it's a two-part point of order. Is that a requirement that it has to be noticed?
A motion to amend or rescind something previously adopted requires notice.
Okay. Okay, well, it is not in the minutes from the first quarter meeting that this was noticed. So that's my point of order, is how is this in order if it wasn't noticed at the first quarter meeting? Okay, but see, I was not at the first quarter meeting, so I rely on the minutes to know what officially happened. Can you show where it was noticed in the call? Thank you.
Just a moment, they're working to pull that up.
Okay. Which thing are they pulling up? The call or the?
The notice from the first quarter.
But it says that it was noticed at the first quarter, and that's not reflected in the minutes. That's my question. I mean, minutes are important.
Actually, if you're listening for 1 second,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if it helps your case.
I just would like a ruling.
I know. Here's the thing. The notice makes the threshold a majority.
I understand.
Without notice, it's 2/3 of majority.
Okay.
I will stipulate, if you're lucky, that the notice was not complete and therefore
Yeah, I know, I understand what you're saying, but I do feel bad that they're doing all this work, so.
I have if you will come to order, please. I have asked the parliamentarian to come and give his interpretation. I've asked the parliamentarian to come forward and give his interpretation of its appearance in the minutes.
So first, the motion to amend or rescind something previously adopted requires, if there is no notice, a majority of the membership or a 2/3 vote. If there is notice, it requires a majority vote. Number one, during announcements, Mr. Blosser at the first quarter meeting did specifically notice it. You can check the video. In addition, in the agenda sent out as the notice of this call for this meeting, under new business, amend SREC interpretation regarding RPT Rule 8C. This has been fully noticed. Is the
Madam Chairman, Jeremy Blosser, SD10. I'm going to Blosser myself here. I'm going to stipulate that it wasn't completely noticed because it did not include the actual language of the amendment, which was my mistake. All I provided notice for was that I intended to amend this previous ruling. I didn't give the context or the content. Therefore, I would stipulate that the majority requirement is, the majority option isn't there. It's majority membership or 2/3.
I appreciate, guys, can we please come to order? I appreciate very much that honesty. That's the kind of integrity that I'm talking about we as a body should have. So he is saying that he did not.
He blossered himself. Now a verb.
All right. So, because of Mr. Blosser's testimony, I'm going to rule that it was not properly noticed. Therefore, it becomes the majority of membership or 2/3 of those voting present. Does everybody understand where we are? Do you have a question? Okay. I have ruled that it was not properly noticed based on Mr. Blosser's testimony. That being said, to pass now, it will have to require a majority of the body or 2/3 of those voting present. Are we good?
Madam Chair, Jason Ross, SD2. Point of parliamentary inquiry. Do we need to call the question in order to vote on the original motion, or is that going to be?
Debate.
Okay.
So I'm assuming JT's kind of hovering in the area.
I will call the question.
Okay.
If needed.
Is there a second? Okay. Seeing no objection to calling the question, we will move on to the vote. Does everybody understand where we are? We are now voting on, just a moment.
I had a roll call demand on this one too, so we need to back that up. Thank you, ma'am.
I got you. Thank you. We're good. I can multitask. Just waiting to get it up on the screen. Just for the record, y'all notice this is the left side that's not working?
Yeah, we're used to it.
Some wisdom in that.
The left doesn't work. Well, the thing about it is, it's not entitled. That's why it's not working.
All right. I'm putting it up on the screen. May I have it in writing?
Madam Chairman, do you want to clarify so everybody understands what they're voting, that a yes vote would be to rescind and a no vote would be to?
Well, I'm trying to get up on the screen.
Okay.
Okay, we have it on the screen over here. I will also read it. The motion is to amend the SREC's previous ruling on Rule 8C to be that it applies to every meeting of the SREC, not just the organizational meeting. This is the motion on the floor. A vote yes is to amend the ruling. A vote no is to not amend the ruling. We will vote with our clickers as per the demand for roll call voting. Are there any questions? Everybody good? Okay? We can pull up the voting screen, please. We will begin.
Would you clarify yes and no? Yes means to agree with the Mr. Blosser's amendment, and no means to vote against
Okay.
it, correct?
Mr. Blosser put forward the motion. So we are back to the original, the main motion. A vote yes is to agree with Mr. Blosser's original motion to amend that rule. Okay, are we good? Have y'all already started voting? You cheaters, I didn't say go. Okay, go. Did it appear on the screen? Okay. There is an additional no vote in SD 31 for Tom Roller. The clicker did not work. But the vote count is yes 35, no 23. The threshold was 33 for yes, so the motion passes. Okay. Is there any? Dang it. There.
You should just let her gavel out.
It is my pleasure to turn the gavel over to our vice chair for the remainder of the meeting. Thank you all very much. See you in a couple months at the convention.
Is there any further new business?
Announce.
Hang on, I'm getting ready to say keep in. All right, we are going to take a keep in photo. If you would please come to the location of our earlier SREC picture.
Sure.
We need, as a party, your convention committee appointments. If you haven't turned those in, the deadline is approaching. And finally, would you please join me, guys, would you join me in thanking the interpreters? Can you imagine having to translate all of this? Thank you to the interpreters.
Madam Chair, Jason Vaughn, Texas Young Republicans. Just like to remind everybody that there is a fundraiser in Williamson County tonight. We still have tickets available if anybody wants to hang out with Steve Munisteri tonight.
All right, wonderful.
Chris McDonald, SD6 announcement. Matt, come to the front.
Yes. Guys, we have not adjourned yet. There has not been a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chairman? Oh. No.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. No, you're okay.
Folks, Chris McDonald, SD6. I just wanted to say thank you to this body. As you recall, I had surgery back in October, and as a result of that surgery, my friends, I want to say thank you to this body for your constant prayer. After my surgery in October, heart surgery, I awoke with a paralyzed vocal cord. I was not able to speak, as you recall at the last meeting, nor was I able to sing. And that's something that's very near and dear to my heart. But this prayer body kept me bathed in that prayer. And at our last meeting, Mark Ramsey and Fred Rangel and I were talking, and they asked how I was doing. I said, well, I still can't talk, as you can't hear, but, you know, if it's the Lord's will, just as the lady who had had a blood disorder for 12 years reached out and touched the hem of Jesus and was healed, and we agreed that that was expression of faith could lead to the healing. Just as the centurion who sent his messenger out before him and asked Jesus, if you would just pray for my servant, I know that they'll be healed, and they were. So with that said, I thank you. I've seen restoration in my voice. It is not complete, but the doctor did report that that vocal cord has begun to work. And if you don't mind, I'd just like to sing a little tune. This is the first little song I ever sang. at my grandma's house, and it was written by Chris Christopherson after he had a conversion experience after going to church with Janie Fricky. Why me, Lord? What did I ever do that was worth love from you, for all the kindness you've shown? And tell me, Lord, what did I ever do that was worth love from you, and all the kindness you've shown? Lord, help me, Jesus. I've wasted it, so help me, Jesus. My soul's in your hand, and now that I know that I needed you, so help me, Jesus. My soul's in your hands. Yes, Jesus, my soul's in your hands. And all praise to him, and many thanks to each of you.
All right, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. If there are any objections, without objection, we stand adjourned. Thank you all.